All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tim Vixay with my crippled friend. This is episode 23. I'm here in Denver over at one of my cripple friends' house. Just decided to come out here for the week and just catch up with some old buddies. I'm sitting across the table here from Dan Rose. We met at the Veteran Wheelchair Games. I want to say 2013. He's a paraplegic, which is kind of weird because I don't really have a lot of paraplegic friends.
Yeah.
There's kind of like an unspoken division between quads and paras, and I don't know why we don't hang out. But I'm a fucking pacifist, and I just want everyone to get along.
You guys won't let us play rugby, so it's like,
yeah,
we're not that cool.
How you doing, man?
Not too bad, man.
Yeah, it's been a while. We talked about it last night. Last time we saw each other was we were in Orlando, right?
Yep. Yeah, the Vets games down there 2 years ago.
What the fuck have you been up to ever since?
Lots of stuff, man. Got married, bought a house, doing the whole
congratulations.
Domestic thing. I think like sports wise, I've been playing wheelchair lacrosse now for like almost 5 years. And we just took second again in nationals for the second year in a row. So that was like it's great to be second, but it sucks coming in second twice.
Yeah, I hear you. I that was my first 4 years with wheelchair rugby.
Yeah.
We were the Buffalo Bills of wheelchair rugby.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of happening to us now or whatever. And it's like, God damn it.
Who's the national champs right now?
Maryland.
Maryland. Well,
yeah.
Maryland's that's big lacrosse, able-bodied lacrosse community, anyways. And it's starting to make its way out west.
Yeah.
Denver University was like one of the first. Was actually the first lacrosse team to win the college championship that wasn't attached to the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
Because it's always been like Syracuse and
right.
Duke and North Carolina and Johns Hopkins and yeah, but that's cool, man. I'm glad you were able to find at least a team out here because there's only
they're spread.
What is there, like a dozen teams?
Yeah, if that. I think there were 10 teams at nationals this year.
Mm-hmm.
So like the closest ones geographically to us are Phoenix, but they've been having trouble with numbers.
Yeah,
like getting guys and keeping guys around. And San Diego, they're the next closest, and they've traditionally been like our arch nemesis. But they had like 3 of their guys were missing this year from nationals, and it definitely showed, and they didn't make it to the.
Did you play in Wisconsin when you were there too?
Yeah. So Dr. Lee started up that team in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
and they had
like Eric Fife. And
yeah,
James and
that whole clique.
Yeah. I've been trying to convince Oscar Mike to start a veteran wheelchair lacrosse team.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like you said, there's only 10 teams, so we'd be pulling guys from other teams. So
right.
Maybe once the sport grows a little bit more,
definitely.
You get more players involved. I think a lot of it is just getting letting people know that it's an option.
Right.
Like not everybody has to be a basketball player.
Right.
And you don't have to, go do track or whatever. There's plenty of options.
Right, and it's great that it's still like a contact sport.
Yeah. And yet you motherfuckers still want to play rugby.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not so much now that I get to hit people with a stick.
You get to assault people.
Oh, basically. Yeah. Although like playing against Maryland, dude, I got just lit up by God damn, I can't remember his name, but as I was going for like a ground ball and I was playing defense. I hear their other striker like telling him, be cool. And I was just like, oh, fuck. This is going to be bad. And he just comes down on my arm like he's chopping wood.
Yeah.
Twice, like right across. And I mean, like my whole shoulder was just black and blue for weeks after that or whatever. But I was like, God damn it, I play defense. I'm not supposed to be on the receiving end of this.
They still have like slashing, right?
Yeah, but the biggest problem that we have is like, reffing really sucks because like a lot of if we get like able-bodied like stand-up refs or whatever, they don't understand the dynamics with a chair.
Yeah.
a lot of times they'll be like, oh, these guys are in wheelchairs, I'm not going to call a penalty, you know, and so then the games will kind of devolve into like a little bit of a bar brawl. So that's like the biggest thing. And like usually if you get up on a team, they get chippy, you know, it's like kind of like a given. And so then
so like I played lacrosse in high school, just maybe because I don't know anything about wheelchair lacrosse. I would love to go to a game. What's the equipment? Like, describe the equipment for people that don't know.
Well, I mean, it's basically your regular lacrosse equipment or whatever. You know, you got your helmet, like
chest protector.
Yeah, chest protector, which
slash guards, gloves.
Yeah, you got like your elbow pads, gloves. Like my elbow pads will go like almost from the top of the arm or whatever down to like, you know, there's only like a few inches where there's exposed skin, but people somehow still find it, you know.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like chair wise, it's mostly, you know, guys that play like basketball chairs. There's Melrose actually makes like a wheelchair lacrosse chair or
what
whatever.
Would you say like the biggest difference between a basketball chair and a lacrosse chair would be?
It's basically the intermediate between like a rugby chair and a basketball chair, you know. So like they're reinforced.
So like maybe a little bit more dump.
Yeah, more dump. Like a couple of guys on our team like to be like high up or whatever. And they'll just use like weight belts to like strap themselves in. Like I definitely got like more dump in my chair or whatever.
But definitely built for like more contact. Right?
Oh yeah. So they're more reinforced than like a basketball chair.
So like, what are the rules for contact? Like chair to chair contact. Cause
chair to chair contact, you know, like in front of the axles.
Yeah, we have that in rugby as well. It's a spin.
Yeah, exactly. And you can come in with a check or whatever, but both your hands have to be on the stick.
Yeah, or it's a cross check.
Yeah, they got to be together. You know, you can't have that like
you can't
daylight between the mitts or whatever to come in on. But I've actually found like I'll very rarely go in for a hit with my hands unless they're basically like jammed up in the corner going for like a ground ball, just because it like you take yourself out of position. Do you guys modify the gloves? Because I know like a lacrosse glove is pretty thick, you know. Cause if you're getting hit with a stick, it's usually the back of your hands. Yeah.
And so they're padded really well. But do you modify it for like pushing a chair?
I reinforce mine with like athletic tape. Okay. Like just because like when I push, like I'll usually like just use my fist on my left hand, like holding the stick, and just jam that into the wheel and the hand rim. So I'll blow those pads out of the top of the glove.
Oh, really?
A pair of gloves will last me maybe 3 months.
Okay, because those things aren't cheap.
No, and I basically will just go on like lax.com or something or whatever and go to their like clearance sale. Yeah, and get like the $30 pair of gloves and order like 2-3 pair of them.
Just because you know you're gonna blow them up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like these things are just disposable, basically.
I wonder if like rubber would help, because a lot of rugby guys do like the red rubber, or like tractor tire inner tubes. Glue, super glue, or sew it on the back. But
yeah, I mean, I could always give it a try, but I mean, it's like.
Yeah, I'm the same way with my rubber. I just wear like gardening gloves, rubber gardening gloves.
Yeah,
and I don't even bother doing the red rubber, because you rubberize the palm, you're gonna blow out the knuckles.
Right.
And you do it on the knuckles. It's like they're not that expensive.
Yeah.
I buy them by the pallet.
Right.
So you go to palmflex.com and. You can literally order them by the pallet.
Nice.
And get good price breaks. And are there any other rules specifically for wheelchair lacrosse that you wouldn't find in like able-bodied lacrosse?
Yeah. So I mean, we play on a roller hockey surface or whatever. So you got the boards. So it's more like box lacrosse in that aspect. With the offsides, you have to have like 2 people in each zone.
Yeah, and is it 6-on-6?
No, so it is. You got your 2 attack, 3 middies, 2 defense, and your goalie. So
I gotta do math real quick.
Yeah, 4, 8.
8.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and so you need to have like your 2 attackmen or 2 people playing the position of attack have to stay in the offensive zone at all times, and 2 people.
You still have those lines, like you half court.
Yeah, so basically half court is what divides the
Yeah.
field for the offensive and defensive halves. Then I basically you can't, when you're stick check or whatever, you can hit the arm that has control of their stick or whatever.
Yeah.
Warding, that's a penalty. That's basically where you're just like trying to extend your arm to like keep them from hitting
stiff
you.
arm.
Yeah, so you can't. That's definitely a no-no. Like hits to the head, anything like that. That always gets called.
I imagine like if there's a lot of ground balls, are there just dudes getting lit up? Because I feel like if you're going for a ground ball and you're focusing on the ground, you're kind of leaning forward.
And you got that arm way out there, and dudes are just coming down
or just, ramming the front of your chair and just...
Mostly you'll just...
Like, is that legal? Like...
Yeah, you can, if there's a ground ball around you, I mean, you're just... You're a magnet.
I feel like I would just go out there and just not even have a stick and just run into people.
But then you can't play without your cross. If you drop your stick, you can't make any move towards the ball or whatever. The only move you can make is like to go pick up your stick. So, yeah, they're on you.
I got you.
They're on you.
What I would do is I'd just tape a long stick to my knees.
Yeah, there's a couple guys that use them.
I was gonna say, like, are there long stick defenders?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the guys that are using those poles are fairly tall to begin with or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't see much of an advantage
I feel
for
like
it.
it'd be harder to control.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because like you're not gonna want your, damn, it's been years since. What do you call it? The head. You want the head of the stick, like 8 feet up in the air.
Yeah, and so it's not like your traditional like field long stick or whatever. Like, so I think the offensive sticks can be like 40 to 42 inches. Mm-hmm. And then like the long pole for, I would say it's closer to like 5 feet. Versus like that 8 foot,
because it'd be hard to manipulate, like
it'd be
on the bottom end around a chair.
You need to just be jousting people with that thing,
right?
Like,
yeah, which that I think is a sport that's about to take off.
I think it should. Like you got to go to a skate park though, where you can get like a
not so much like both coming at each other.
Yeah, not like a total like halfway, but like like a hill, so that way you can.
That would be a good setup for sure.
Yeah,
because pushing sucks. I mean, the one and only time I ever wheelchair adjust, I got murdered because I couldn't pick up my stick in time.
Oh Jesus!
I was trying to get the speed up, and by the time I got the stick up, I got hit right in the sternum and flipped out of my.
Oh yeah, I think I saw a video of that. Like, didn't you caught yourself with your head though?
Yeah, what had happened was I folded over the backrest.
Yeah.
Led with the head and then tipped over backwards.
Right.
It was a hard hit.
Did you take the knees to the face too?
I don't think I got a concussion. No. That would if I would have broke my nose with my knees.
Yeah, that's always like insult to injury.
That's got to be the fucking worst. That's got to be the worst way to break your nose.
Yeah, doing it to yourself.
Fall over and knee yourself in the head.
Yeah.
Let's see. Look. And then what's the typical season like run through like?
Well, nationals is always like end of August.
Okay.
Like,
what are we talking, like a 6 month long season? Or?
Yeah, but there's really Wisconsin has a tournament right in Milwaukee. The East Coast, they were having, so they're trying to do it like regional tournaments. Mm-hmm. We were going to go out to either Phoenix or San Diego and try and get something together, but it was just nothing, no dates really worked for everybody or whatever. So it was just kind of like, all right, well, we got to definitely try and do that for next year. And I think what they're ideally trying to do is work that into like a seeding system.
Okay.
So like that way they can seed the bracket for the national tournament rather than just being a random draw.
How big are the typically like when you travel like with a roster?
Well, we've done it where we had like one sub and those games suck. I mean, that's just like you're playing like Iron Man. This year, I think we had 4 or 5 subs on our bench or whatever. So it was a lot nicer because then you could like rotate through or whatever, stay fresh or whatever. You're not just
what's the game format? Are we quarters or
and like the time frames always like are changing. It's basically just are they on schedule with the games that they're trying to play? Like,
okay.
I think the first game of the tournament this year was like, they were doing, I think, like 12-minute quarters.
Running
with
clock or something.
No, with stop time or whatever. And so then after that first game, it was just like, they were already like, I think 45 minutes behind schedule, like game one.
Yeah.
And then they were like, all right, let's go to like a 12-minute runtime. And like, let's do 10-minute runtime. And so it was
They're
just kind of like
figuring it out.
Yeah, and like that, and then with like the reffing or whatever, it's like every game is different that you're playing. Like some games are like, they're like, because we have to like, as a like your offense or defense, they can't release during the face-off until possession is gained. And so like a lot of times it'll be like goal line release or whatever, or it'll be like, since it's not a hockey rink, you'll have like the circles there for like the face-offs in the zone or whatever for hockey. And sometimes they'll be like, all right, it's the dots on the circles, or it's the tops of the circles.
Because you guys don't, because like typically lacrosse, you have the line.
Yeah.
I forget what they call it, but it's the line along the sideline.
Right. Where you can't.
Yeah, you can't enter until possessions.
Yeah, so that's the rule, but it's like it's kind of like playing a game at recess, like where it's like one kid's in charge and keeps changing rules.
Yeah,
so it always kind of feels like that. We have a rule book for it, but just nobody seems to read it.
It's a living document.
Exactly. It's like the Constitution.
Dang, I had one more question about. Describe the face-offs.
Basically, you'll just be face to face with your chairs kind of like angled at each other, and then you'll just trap the ball between the back of the heads of both sticks or whatever.
Yeah, and this is at like shoulder height.
Yeah, shoulder height. So you're up top. It's not like on the field where they just drop down and try to look like two rams in mating season, like spin around in a circle.
That's what I always hated. So when I played in high school, they had me facing off for like some JV games.
Right.
And it felt like we were, like you said, like two animals.
Yeah, just go
two
head
rams
to head.
Going head to head, or two elk just going right at it. And it's like,
and like DU used to have, God, I can't remember his name, but he was just a beast. He looked like one of those like rugby players that didn't have a neck, it was just like shoulders to ears.
I remember that season that they won. I was following the playoffs, and it was like they were showing the stats, and I don't think he had ever lost a face-off.
No, because he was just ginormous and would just basically bowl over everybody.
There was different techniques to winning.
Yeah.
But it's such a small part of the game. Where I'm just like, I'd rather just fucking concede it and get back on defense or something, like.
Yeah. And so that's basically what happens with ours or whatever, like most of the time it'll just, the ball will randomly flip out.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the direction you want it. And then it just becomes a ground ball for the two other middies who are basically on the boards.
Yeah.
At the half ice or whatever, and they'll come charging in trying to pick up the ground ball and establish possession that way. So.
Yeah. I want, you know what? Since you guys are still trying to figure shit out, you guys should just do a tip off like basketball. See how that ends up.
Yeah. Oh, and what's funny is like sometimes the refs they'll blow the whistle to like start it, and if they don't get back far enough, quick enough, or whatever, it's like they're just taking a stick to the face or something. It's like you definitely got to put that in there and haul ass out of there because no one knows where that ball's going.
That's cool, man. I'm glad it's there because you're always looking for more sports to start growing, and I heard there's another version of wheelchair rugby that they're kind of experimenting with. That's a little bit more in line with able-bodied rugby.
Okay.
So I'd be curious to see how that's played, and I haven't really done too much research into it. But
so would that just be like laterals only?
Yeah, they would play with an actual rugby ball. So I don't know. I've just only heard about it in passing.
Well, how are you gonna kick it through the uprights?
Those are questions. Maybe a bump it like a volleyball.
Yeah.
Who knows? I'm surprised they don't have wheelchair volleyball.
They got that seated volleyball.
Have you ever tried that?
No, because I just know if I did, I would just be smoking my head left and right. I
was down at Lakeshore for a military camp. It was part of their Lima Foxtrot program, and they were just introducing a lot of newly injured guys to like different sports, and
Yeah.
we would rotate through stations, and you'd go to like air rifles and basketball and track and field and all that. And then they had a sitting volleyball one, and they're like, "Oh, do you need help transferring to the ground?" I was like, "Yeah, but and I don't know if I want to try this."
Right.
I was like, "I have zero trunk, barely enough tricep to fucking hold myself up."
Right.
And like they were just, they were like, "Oh, just at least try it, and if you don't like it, you can get out."
Yeah.
Came for me to serve, and I was just like, "You're fucking kidding me!" like you're like someone's I'm being pranked.
Right. Like where's the
this is
cameras?
bullshit.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That didn't end well. That was a very short-lived
Yeah, I mean,
sporting endeavor.
you learn pretty quickly too, like what sports are suited to what your particular disability is or whatever.
Yeah.
Because like I grew up like loving hockey, and like I played for a couple years like sled hockey, and it was just I was like, all right, like I'm just starting out again, I'll get better. I'll get better. But it was like, that's a double amp sport. Like those little guys, like I'd be like hauling ass trying to get to a puck, and like my sled's super long, and I gotta have the blades like some of those guys are like rocking on one blade.
Yeah.
Where I had like training wheels way out wide, just to keep myself upright, and I was like,
I actually had this conversation on the last episode with my buddy, a rugby player, and we were talking about sled hockey, and he had brought up, he's like, I don't even think pairs are that successful.
You can't compete.
Yeah.
Like, because, I mean, like, maybe if you're a really low para, where you got full trunk.
Yeah, like a S.
Yeah, and, like, maybe some hip flexors definitely huge, because those guys can just, like, rock their sled however which way they want. They can, it's kind of like, like, right now with lacrosse, we don't have enough, like, disabled people to fill out a whole roster, so we'll let, like, able bodies play. Mm-hmm. And like able bodies are like amps, like where they can still like snap their chair with their hips.
Yeah.
Actually, they can like
while we're back on lacrosse, but I still want to get into hockey. With lacrosse, is there a classification system?
Not yet. Just because like it's the numbers are so small, but I would imagine like eventually it would be sort of like a basketball classification.
It'd be more basketball, yeah, for sure.
There are a couple quads that do play lacrosse or whatever, so I would imagine they'd be like your 0.5s.
I wouldn't mind trying it.
Yeah.
It just, I know, like, I would, if I had my wrist both ways, like with the extension and the flexion.
Right.
I feel like I wouldn't mind playing.
Right.
But then again, I've played basketball and not even touched the ball during an entire game. But it's like, if you know chair positioning and, I might be slower, but like I've also, played rugby for a number of years and lacrosse. So like maybe I could be effective like on defense or just forcing
the turnover.
Setting, like, because like, I mean, I imagine you guys are, setting picks and.
Yeah. And like, so the rule is supposed to be like, you can't be moving whenever you're setting a pick or whatever. And so it just kind of, but yeah, no, I definitely, setting up screens, doing the cuts, like trying to, draw a man off or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the strategy, it seems like the strategy with most wheelchair sports are kind of similar. I don't know if power soccer is any different. I feel like a little bit more difficult setting a pick.
Yeah. Well, and those things, it's crazy. Like when they like swing those things around to like smack the ball.
Yeah.
Like do like the circular like whap. And yeah, that's nuts. I've never actually like sat down and watched like a whole game though.
I've watched at like the vet games.
Yeah.
It can be entertaining.
Right.
The skills that it takes. I always thought it'd be fun if we set up a game where we play power soccer, but with manual chairs. And you just bump. You can't touch the ball with your hands.
Right.
And you just have to bump it.
Oh, man. Yeah, we could.
And then you also keep in the full contact of rugby.
So would we have like that cage on the front of like would you do everyday chair or sports chair?
Sports chair for sure.
Oh,
yeah. It'd be better. Yeah. If we were like in rugby chairs.
Yeah. With like that defensive pick cage on the front or whatever.
Yeah. Like, well, I would use that and I would have an advantage when it came to hitting the ball and stuff. But then, you still have the wings where you can, you probably would be able to dribble the ball better.
Right.
And you know what? That would be interesting because that would kind of like reverse the roles where the high pointers with the wings, they would be more of the midfielders, the guys that are carrying the ball up.
Right.
But to actually be able to shoot, I mean, like if you bump the ball into me and I'm set up like, you know, I'm swinging a baseball bat.
Right.
And I can swing.
Yeah.
I feel like this is something we're going to have to
I always feel like it's
now.
like flippers on a pinball table.
Yeah.
You know, like you just be like at the corners of the net or whatever, just be like, da-da-da.
Right. Yeah. That would be interesting. We have enough rugby chairs now to try that.
I think we should.
We just gotta
Might be onto something.
We just gotta go up to Milwaukee and steal a power soccer ball.
Yeah, right.
But that'd be kind of fun. So you never really got too deep into like sled hockey?
No, I mean I realized fairly soon on that it was like it's not a high para sport.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I mean like I still love it. I watch in the Paralympics, all that or whatever.
I was having that discussion the other day. I think it might be my favorite sport to watch on TV.
Right.
As far as like wheelchair sports.
Right. Yeah, and I mean it's just, you know, it's not my sport, you know, and that's cool. You know, like I found lacrosse, which I can, you know, excel at, perform well, and because it's kind of frustrating when it's like you love the sport, you want to participate, but it's just like it's never gonna work out.
You never got too deep into basketball, right?
No, just I don't know, like any sport where like contact isn't.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like it if the contact is discouraged, I do not do well in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like when I play basketball, it's like I'm gonna foul out in 5 minutes just because it's like, all right, this guy's trying to cut. Like I'm just gonna get in front of him, and just stop it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and you can't do that.
I don't know, but like with me, like I don't know, basketball. It's like the kind of like the image, maybe the kind of like the ego that goes with basketball. Like I don't know. I mean, I guess they probably call it swagger. I call it kind of an ego, and it's like I don't know. It seems like to me, like wheelchair basketball is. Like the wheel, it's mostly the wheelchair basketball athletes. Like they feel like they're like NBA professionals.
Yeah,
they kind of got this big head. I don't want to generalize them all because I don't know them all, but like from the ones that I've seen around, like
it's more like your prima donnas sort of. Yeah. No, I'd agree with that because.
I mean, I'm sure you might get it in rugby too, and I just have blinders on, but
right.
Yeah, it sucks because like that's kind of like the sport that gets all the attention,
right?
And you got them on fucking Guinness commercials and I mean the first time I saw any kind of wheelchair sport chair was remember that scene in Bad Boys 1 when Will Smith is chasing them dudes through the city and they run into like the basketball dudes that are like. There's one scene where there's a basketball team and they're just pushing down the sidewalk and
I don't remember
it's
that.
a bunch of black dudes and they got like flat tops and one of them's dribbling the ball and the fucking chase runs right through him. I think one of them gets knocked out of the chair.
Oh really?
It's fucking hilarious.
I gotta go back and.
It was the first time I ever seen. I was like, oh, check it out! Like those dudes are cripples and they're playing basketball.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. Right.
Good for them. They're so inspiring.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like the general population's view on like wheelchair sports. You know, like unless you're like directly connected to somebody who's participating in them.
Well, I've been with you before where we got mistaken for like the Special Olympics.
Oh yeah, going across the strip.
We were just in Vegas.
Yeah,
like what the fuck.
They're like, Special Olympics, and it's like, hey, we're not mentally handicapped, all right? We're not saying there's anything bad with that.
We're drunk as fuck right
now.
Right.
Like, I mean, I guess
it's like 3 a.m. We're fucking coming back from Denny's.
We probably looked like we were Special Olympians.
Well, there was that one when you were
doubt.
towing me through the casino carpet.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that this morning. How fun that trip was.
Yeah, that was a blast.
Yeah, we ended up getting Vegas tattoos.
Yeah.
You got that sweet gravestone on your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the last time I can say that I did Vegas right.
Right.
Because now when I go to Vegas, like I don't go clubbing anymore. I just go to the poker room and I go eat. And
Right.
I've like transitioned to like kind of like a fat Midwest dude.
Yeah,
like I just go to Vegas. I gamble. I go hit the buffet. Might go see a show. Might go see Garth Brooks.
Right.
Or whatever. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in that same boat now. It's like I just can't.
That was the summer right before I moved to Vegas. And then I saw like the underbelly side of it, and I was just like, this isn't the place for me. And ended up moving out of there after a year and a half. I was just like, I can't fucking do this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a vacation destination. Not
it's a vice town.
Yeah, you don't want to call that home. Like,
yeah, it's a total. I mean, like if you can get outside far enough where you just don't even think about the strip, like in Henderson. Because there's a lot of cool areas like around Vegas,
right? As
far as like getting outdoors and doing hikes or even like four-wheeling. And you got a couple lakes not too far away. Like it's not a bad spot, but it's the fucking strip is just like it's
I get like annoyed by it now. Where it was like that. We Vegas, like all that crap or whatever. And it's just
we're just fucking old now. I guess.
Exactly. It's like
that's how. Have you been to Nashville?
Yeah. I did a bachelor party down there like 3 years ago, I think.
Okay, yeah, because it's like apparently the bachelorette capital of the world. Like,
and
so many woo girls.
Yeah. Well, did you hear about all of them that were? Because they had like the draft there this year or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so there were like a ton of like
Jesus.
bachelorette parties that were there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they didn't pay attention to the news when they were booking their bachelorette party, and it was just like
you got like all these young football college guys.
Right.
Now you got all Jesus.
It was funny reading some of the stories about
You know what? That sucks because like those NFL guys fucked your girl.
Oh yeah.
So Guaranteed. If you're listening to this and your wife just got,
well, I mean, you're Eskimo brothers with a pro football
player.
That
is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Especially like if he does well, you could be like, that dude fucked
Hall
my
of Famer.
wife.
Hall of Famer, first ballot.
Stories are stories, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. Vegas, not Vegas. Nashville's kind of just an interesting place. How it, it's so connected with country music,
right?
But none of the country guys I listen to are from Nashville anymore.
Right.
Like a lot of them are like Texas or just independents, and
isn't like CMT headquartered there?
Probably, and
I think that's just like why,
or
whatever. I don't know. I always thought like at any given time, Wagon Wheel, that song is playing in one bar in Nashville.
Yeah.
Like 24/7. Like, doesn't matter. Like,
yeah.
It's going to be played.
You go to the jukebox and it's the only song on there.
Yeah. I feel like every time we went and watched any live music, it was like every fifth song. That was always what it was. Then we go to the next bar and it's like.
You go to any,
It's like, Jesus Christ, again? Like.
It's
a great song, but come on.
The crazy thing, man, is just like how much it's grown, and it's like mostly like a tech. Isn't that like one of their biggest industries? It's like there's a bunch of tech companies.
I think so, and it's like a lot of it's like like gentrifying or whatever too. And like when we were there, like we had like a Lyft driver that we just got her number, and we're just like just shoot her a text or whatever, and she come pick us up, give us a ride, wherever, and we just give her straight cash. She was saying, like a lot of the neighborhoods though are getting, like the properties bought up, flipping the houses for way more money. So it's like a lot of the
I've only ever been there like twice, even though like when I lived in Alabama, like it's only like a 3-hour drive, and I wish I would have visited more, but Teddy and I ended up seeing Chris Stapleton at the Ryman.
Oh, nice.
That was pretty dope.
Oh, that's cool.
That's one of those venues I think everybody should go see a show there.
Right.
Just like here, Red Rocks.
Oh yeah.
I really wanted to go see a show while I was in town, but everything was sold out. So what I'll probably end up doing is just planning a trip around a show.
Yeah.
I would want to see someone that I love.
Right.
Like if like Santana played at Red Rocks, I'll fucking be there for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, I think they've released the schedule like early spring. They'll release like who's playing like the weekends.
Is it only like open during like the summer months?
No. They do like New Year's Eve shows.
Okay.
But like the gist of like all the concerts are going to be, in your summer months or whatever.
Now, you're originally from Wisconsin, and you've been out here in Denver for 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's 3 going on 4.
How would you compare the winters?
Terrible. Don't move out here. So
No,
they're actually like super mild. Like everyone thinks like it's like, oh man, you're like Rocky Mountains. It's brutal winters, and it's, I would say, like average like 50 degrees. Mm-hmm. And it's still, we got 300 days of sunshine. So
right. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that about Denver is like they get the most sun.
Yeah, and I didn't realize like how much like that like cloudy overcast weather affected me until I go home for like Christmas or like Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. And it's like I just feel like,
we're talking like seasonal depression.
Yeah, like totally down. Like you get that random day here where it's like overcast and you're just like, oh man.
Yeah, like the Pacific Northwest is infamously just damp and gray.
Right.
And people do have like seasonal depression, and I don't think it's ever affected me just because I've grown up around it. So
yeah, I feel like the only way I noticed it was moving out here and being away from it, and then like going back, and then you see it, and it's like, yeah, dude, I'm like bummed out right now. And like the only difference is I can't see the sun.
So
like,
you would pick Denver weather over Wisconsin?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's just it's a lot hotter out here in the summertime, but it's definitely like drier.
Yeah.
And so like if you're in the shade, it'd be 100 degrees out. Mm-hmm. But if you're sitting in the shade, it's like 70 degrees. It's like, totally pleasant.
When people say like, oh, it's a dry heat. It's a dry heat. It's a big fucking difference. Mm-hmm. Like, because like the humidity. I mean, the summers that I spent in Florida or Alabama, where it's like you could be in the shade and you're still miserable.
Yeah, exactly. You're just sweating. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's no escaping it. It's like, you never really get to dry off, because as soon as you dry off after a shower, it's like you just start sweating.
Yeah, I will take like 110 Fahrenheit dry.
Right.
Over 90, but high humidity.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, the weather out here is like great, and like being the proximity to the mountains is great, because even when it is like super hot in the summertime, I mean, I think it's like every like 1,000 feet you go up in elevation, the temperature drops about like 5 degrees or whatever. So if it's like unbearably hot here, it's like we'll just go cruise up to the mountains, find a hike, or find a little.
And there's quite a bit of like rivers and lakes that you can just go.
Mostly reservoirs here, and like I don't know, like the South Platte runs through here, but I don't think you'd ever want to go touch the water.
So would you prefer the Wisconsin summers or?
I loved like all the lakes and stuff in Wisconsin where you just, like everybody has a friend with a boat, not everybody has a boat, but like you just go out on the water, and there's actually bars that just have a dock out back where you tie your boat off, go inside, grab some food, grab some drinks.
Yeah. Wisconsin's such a cool place, man.
Yeah. It's definitely.
I feel like it's a great place to like grow up and raise a family.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's very
like be from, but don't stay from.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah. Once you kind of get out and see the big city, it's kind of hard to stay down on the farm.
Yeah. I mean, then I'm not really a big city guy myself. So.
Yeah.
But Colorado is one of the few landlocked states that I would want to live in.
Right.
It would not be in Denver.
And no, Denver's it's tough. Like I lived in Madison for like the last 5-6 years. I was in Wisconsin, and like that town is just amazing. Love it. Like, I mean, there's so much going on. But I think the best part about it was like how interconnected the university and the city are.
Yeah.
And like on Saturdays when there's a football game, it's like the entire town turns red.
Well, there's just I don't know, I feel like there's a better sense of like community in Wisconsin. And
right.
Like my theory is like you guys just have like some of the shittiest winters.
Right.
So it's like everybody needs to help each other out and
right.
kind of look out for each other. And
it's like we're all just going through this
we're
shitty 6 months together.
We're suffering together, and like we're gonna meet up at the bar and talk about it. And
Right.
I
will say, like,
Packers. And
the cool thing about Denver though is like it still has that amount of like front. It's not like a New York sort of like
LA, New York,
where like people are just, you know, they got their blinders on. If somebody like falls over in the road, they're gonna just step over them or walk around them. You know, like it's like out here, I'll still get like into a random conversation with somebody on the standing at an intersection waiting to cross the street. And Lisa's like, "Who was that?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
I got pepper spray pulled on me for just saying hi to a lady in New York.
Really?
No, that's just a joke.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say, man,
it wouldn't surprise.
It
wouldn't surprise me, man. Like, you know, like the like in Portland's like that. Like, we'll still say hello to each other, even though I feel like that's kind of like starting to fade and kind of like go away.
Yeah.
But Portland's another different story because we're just like,
oh, it's weird.
It's the country in a microcosm.
Oh God, we were there. It was last Labor Day weekend for the IndyCar race. We were like staying in kind of like downtown Portland area. I can't remember what.
Was I not in town?
No, you weren't.
Okay.
Yeah, you were. I think you were back in Illinois.
Probably in Illinois.
Yeah, and but we went out for like breakfast or whatever. I think it was like the Saturday morning or something. And, you know, we had just like, it was like kind of like right on the river down there.
Salties?
Wait, is it the river or the?
Yeah, there's you were probably at Salties. It's like a famous brunch spot.
Well, we were down there. It was like a little kind of footpath that was by like this park or whatever. And so there were all these like little like tiny like coffee shops like. So I think we just stopped and grabbed like a egg sandwich from like one of those like little spots. It wasn't like you
were up more by like Jansen Beach area.
Yeah, and like we grabbed, you know, like just some sandwiches, whatever, and then like we noticed that there was like it was kind of like a beer distributor place or whatever, where they had like all like the different cans of beers from all the different breweries around or whatever. They had some tap beers or whatever, and
like,
so like
tap houses.
Yeah, basically. And it was like 11 in the morning, and they were like open, but they weren't like selling beer yet or whatever. And so we're just like, all right, cool. You know, like let us know when you get that register up. You know, I'd love to try some of your beers. And we're just like sitting there, kind of like waiting, and all of a sudden this like bachelorette party like rolls up. I guess they were doing like one of the pedal tours of this.
Oh yeah.
But they were all dressed up like burlesque. And like one of the chicks was like a good solid 8.5 months like pregnant. It was like,
oh shit.
It's like, get it, girl. You know, just wearing like the skimpy fishnets. Like, I was like, you do you, man. That's awesome.
Just wait till this next generation grows up and they discover their parents like Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Or their parents like Twitter.
Yeah. That's horrible. Like, that's why I know I'll never have a political future, just because I had Facebook in college.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like we were like the first ones to like get Facebook when it was only for people in college, you know, and it was just like
you had to have a college email. I remember that.
Yeah, and like it was an EDU. Like if you didn't have an EDU, you couldn't get it.
But at least you were in college, and like kids now, dude, they're like, imagine if you had Twitter when you were in high school,
right?
And some of the shit you would say.
Oh yeah, well look at all the athletes that are getting fucking burned by like, you know, like making a dumbass tweet back when you're a sophomore in high school, and all of a sudden like somebody digs that shit up and it's like, look here, dude, your career is done.
I'm very fortunate that all I had was like MySpace back in high school,
right?
Because some of the shit we did, and same with like camera phones. Like camera phones weren't really a big thing.
Well, because you couldn't tell what you were looking at.
Yeah, I remember,
that picture was like 10 pixels.
I remember the first nudie I got.
Oh yeah,
sophomore, junior year.
But you were like, is it?
Kind of looks like what am I?
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know what, 4 megapixels or something.
Right. But
now it's like with the video and like, dude, it must really suck to be a kid.
Oh god, yeah.
Like, and it's kind of shitty because it's like it's also a great time to be a fucking kid because you got like the internet and like you got Netflix on demand, you got, you know, streaming video games and like video games. I haven't. The next episode I'm going to do is going to be with a huge video gamer.
Okay.
Because I mean, like, I was never really like a huge gamer.
Right.
But I like playing video games.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had, the N64. And
Oh yeah.
I think
GoldenEye.
what I liked most about playing video games is like back in the day, during you'd have sleepovers and shit.
Oh yeah.
You'd bring your 64 controller, and
Right.
you guys would hook up and play GoldenEye till 4 a.m.
Right, and then you could
eating
screen
pizza
cheat.
rolls and yeah.
Like, those were the best players. Were the ones that could look at everyone else's screen, figure out where you were on the map or whatever, and like.
Because now, I mean, like, it's cool that like if you and if we wanted to play Call of Duty,
Right.
like we could do it even though we live 1,000 miles apart.
Yeah. No,
But then at the same time, like, I don't think kids are getting together doing like sleepovers and having.
Right.
I mean, I never did like LAN parties and shit, but that used to be a thing. I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
I doubt it, because I mean, you don't even need it anymore. It's like
Yeah.
you don't need to be on that like common server to, play a game together anymore.
Yeah, it's like it's such a great time, but at the same time, it's like it could be hard. Like, just trying to navigate through this new.
Well, I feel like that's kind of the problem too with like social media in general. I feel like people use that as a substitute for human interaction,
for social interaction.
You know, and like I still have like Facebook, but I don't ever go on there. Like the only time I ever do is if like it's like, is this person's birthday coming up or whatever, and like go check that way or whatever, because it's like I haven't seen you for a year and a half, but I don't want to be like looking at everything that you've done for the last year and a half, and then like our conversation is, oh, I see you went this place. And you're like, yeah, cool, yeah, it was awesome. Like, check out these pictures. Like, oh, I already saw them on Facebook, and then it's like. Yeah, there's the conversation, like
right.
Instead of like genuinely hearing what the hell you've been up to or what you've been doing.
And I need to, I'm slowly starting to phase like Facebook out of my life.
Right.
But I need to like retrain my brain and cause like, dude, I've known about this Denver trip for a while.
Right.
And I don't know why I just didn't think of you until just now.
Right.
Or like, it was like, when did I contact you? Like yesterday?
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, oh shit. I was like, fuck, Dan lives in Denver. What the fuck am I doing? Like, yeah. So I was just like, fucking A. But it ended up working out, man. And you gave me a couch to crash on. And this trip has slowly turned into like a couch surfing tour.
There you go.
I haven't had a bed since, Saturday night.
Jesus.
Yeah. Or... Did I? Yeah, I left Sunday morning. Got out to Boise, crashed on Spencer's couch.
Right.
Crashed on this couch. Maybe I'm just gonna crash on Luckett's couch just to
keep it
call it the
Keep
couch
it going.
couch surfing tour.
Yeah.
It's also, it's kind of cool to know that I can do that, and that because back in the day when you're an AB, like I would sleep on the floor.
Right, exactly. Just throw me
anywhere. Just give me a pillow.
Yeah, right.
Or if you don't have
rug to lay.
You don't have a pillow, like okay, I'll just roll up my sweater.
Right.
But yeah, it is kind of cool to like get back to, I don't know, maybe that kind of lifestyle, just to feel it again.
Right. Just couch surf and like. Well, it's nice too as adults too. I mean, like a lot of people like kind of like spread to the four corners, and so it's like no matter where you go, you got somebody.
Yeah,
you can reach out to or whatever.
I've talked about this before, where it's like it's really cool when you start getting involved in like wheelchair sports,
right?
And you start making friends from all over the U.S. or all over the world,
right? And
now you have an accessible place to stay,
right? I've always kind of thought about like it'd be kind of cool to like set up something like almost like a VRBO or something like that, but it's just like
a what?
Like almost like a VRBO, or, like the vacation rental by owner or Airbnb, whatever. But just do it like exclusively with gimps. Be like, all right, like I use a wheelchair. My house is fairly adaptable. I live in Denver. Somebody else lives in, say like Boston or some city I don't want to go to. I'll be like, hey, cool. Like I'm planning on going out this week. Oh, cool. I can make that work or whatever. And like just swap houses.
Yeah.
So you can check out a city or whatever, have a accessible place.
Have you heard of couchsurfing.com? I think it is.
I have not.
It's like a website. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe like Airbnb, but it's free.
Okay.
And you pretty much or I guess it's like Craigslist for couch surfing.
Okay.
So what you would do is you would just put this house up on there and say, hey, we're
I feel
available.
like that's a great way to get murdered.
Yeah, they would think that, but it's kind of cool because like you can review, people that have stayed at your house. You can review houses that you stayed at. And
all right.
It's you would automatically think like I'm gonna get fucking raped and murdered.
Right.
But you gotta have the faith and also practice good judgment. But
right.
There's still good people out
there.
Yeah,
no,
I
guarantee. I just listen to too many true crime podcasts where like now it's like my
and it's,
faith in humanity and moral fiber is just
for the 1,000 times that it goes well, you don't hear about it, but it's the one time that it goes wrong, and you get blasted with that through.
Well, I'm sure the people that are like the ones that are taking advantage of the service are like like using their couch for to let people come crash it. Mm-hmm. They're the good kind of people in the world.
Yeah, and I've had friends that have used it to good success. So I think maybe setting up like a cripple couch surfing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and that way you could also, it's a smaller community.
Right.
So like if let's say for example I wanted to go out to Maryland.
Right.
And I looked it up and I was like, hey, there's a dude like a lacrosse player that lives in Maryland that he's offering his couch,
right?
And I could verify with you, be like, is this a good dude? Like, and
right?
Like, yeah, he's a solid guy, or I don't know, he's kind of weird and he pees himself all the time,
right? It happens.
So it does happen, but yeah, like I don't know, I feel like the community could benefit from that because traveling like in a wheelchair is expensive, right? And most of us don't really make a lot of money.
Right. Well, and it's like, like an accessible room or whatever.
Yeah, that was going to be my next point was not every hotel has,
and some of the accessible rooms aren't that great, like where it's like, oh, we got a roll-in shower, but no shower bench.
Yeah. Or we have a roll-in shower and a shower bench, but they're 4 feet apart.
Right.
And you can't reach the controls. So yeah, just turn the shower on and then make your transfer.
Yeah, exactly. Get nice and slippery. Or you get the like rickety ass like plastic shower bench those is just they're I would rather go on the floor, to be honest, like rather than like transfer onto or off of that thing.
You're not going to tip over the floor.
Right, exactly. Like I'm already down. Like
I think we're talking about the same chair, the one that's like it's kind of like bold. It kind of looks like
and it's got like the 4 legs that crisscross underneath it, and they're never even. Like it's always rocking, and like you go to make that transfer, and the chair just flips on you. And
and then it's just as soon as you get any like soap or shampoo on you, you turn into a fucking slip and slide.
Right. It's like a greased hog. Exactly. You're like the grease pig at the rodeo.
Yeah. And then it's like, what do? You fucking fall. Crack your head or something. It's
it's worse. You might as well just start on the ground. Yeah, it's like that floor transfer sucks. Never pretty. But
I've been doing like a lot of so what I do now is like it's kind of like a bird shower, and I'll if I can't get to the shower because like a tub or whatever. Yeah. What I'll end up doing is I'll just throw a towel on the floor. Yeah. And throw my shower chair on top of the towel in front of the sink.
Oh yeah,
and then I just sponge. And I just use a water bottle. Yeah, and I just fucking just wash off in there.
Yeah. Get the bits.
Get the important parts.
Get the bits, and
PTA, pits, tits, and ass.
Yeah, well, that's
the balls and all.
Yeah, there you
go. We sort of just kind of jumped into things. But and you know what? Like I don't usually do this. And I hope you don't mind, but like the circumstances around your injuries is kind of unique, and I feel like it is an important piece of the Dan Rose story. Right. You know what I mean? So do you want to just like describe your injury? Well, we don't have to get like too into detail.
So basically, I was injured by an IED in Afghanistan. So I was in the Army Reserve, combat engineer, and so we just basically, our job was to drive around and look for these IEDs, like we're the idiots out there trying to find them.
What was your kind of your AO, like your area of operations?
So we were in, it was the Kandahar province, sort of like the Zari district, Panjwai, that sort of area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it basically was just desert. You know, it looked a lot like the Southwest, like Arizona, or like a sort of like a New Mexico, where you're like, it's all of a sudden you just got like this like huge mountain that just jumps out of nowhere. You know, it's like, where the hell did this thing come from?
Yeah. It still blows my mind that a lot of people don't know what Afghanistan looks like.
Yeah, and like a lot of people think, you know, it's like, oh, there's like greenery and all that stuff, and it's like, yeah, no, that's like Bagram, like way up in the north. You know, they actually have like lush deciduous forests or whatever, pine trees, all that stuff. It would be
such a beautiful place.
Yeah, if it wasn't for all the
Except
war.
for one thing.
Yeah, the war that's been raging there since
Genghis Khan.
Yeah, Alexander the Great.
Yeah,
he went through there.
Right.
There was like one thing where people were like, that's one of Alexander the Great's fortresses or whatever. And
it got the bad rap because it's just in such an important geological.
Well, it's like the crossroad there, but
right.
Like I always kind of thought like most of the people were a lot of the people still in Afghanistan are like nomadic, and I'm like, why are they stopping here? Like I would just keep going, you know? There's got to be something better over that next hill. If not, like the next hill, or just keep going.
I just watched a really cool documentary from the 70s on YouTube called The Road to Kathmandu.
Okay.
And it's about, I think he's a British expat that lived in Turkey.
Okay.
But he ran a truck company that would take a bunch of hippies and travelers and shit. And they would take kind of like the Silk Road to Kathmandu.
Oh, shit.
I was like, that is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It was, it's just a bunch of and like the way they lived, like you would pay a certain thing for the whole trip, but then you would also were required to like help with like collecting water, collecting firewood. And like, I was like, fuck, that would be a fun little adventure. Like, you could certainly set up something like that in Afghanistan where it's like, you know, like do like Bedouin communities or like start communes and shit. But it's like, it's such a war-torn, tribalistic.
Well, I mean, you look at pictures though; it's like back in the 70s and shit, and it was actually fairly modern-looking place.
Yeah, like Kabul.
Yeah, then like Soviets came in and fucked them up.
Yeah, it was from just the pictures I've seen, like in Kabul, it was. I guess you would maybe compare it to Pakistan, ish.
Well, I don't know.
Or like Nepal.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just. Anyways, back to the story.
Yeah, sorry. So we did route clearance. I mean, just looking for the IEDs, and we were pretty awesome at that job. You know, we found everyone.
What year was this again?
This was 2010, 2011.
Okay, so I mean, this is full swing.
Yeah, this was because
IEDs weren't really a big threat until.
Well,
later
they were
years.
More of a threat in Iraq.
But even
in the early years, it was like Iraq was like notorious for it because they had like the infrastructure.
But not even. I mean, like during the invasion, it wasn't really.
No, that was like what they fell back on once they realized like
it was mostly during like the occupation.
Right. Exactly.
After the mission was accomplished.
Well, and they could take a couple $100s worth of fertilizer and blow up a truck that's worth
millions,
$1 million with the personnel and all the weapon systems and all that shit on there. And it's like it's kind of a no-brainer for them.
So in Afghanistan, what were you guys rocking?
So we had the RG-33.
Okay.
So it was one of the bigger, rugged, like the V-hull MRAP vehicles or whatever. That truck like saved my life. I mean, that's the only reason that I'm here in like my. So I was like TC in the truck. So I was sitting in the shotgun seat.
Just for the people that don't know, typically, what's the crew on one of those?
So for us, it was like bare bones. And I was always in the lead truck or whatever, and so it was just like it was my driver, myself, and my gunner, and that was it.
Okay.
Because we're gonna be the ones that usually will get blown up because we're the first ones going over.
Yeah.
And so unless they're trying to do like some complex split the convoy or whatever, because we usually had like, I want to say like 6-7 vehicles rolling as we'd go out and clear all these routes or whatever. So yeah, it was always just that like bare bones crew. We wouldn't take any passengers because it's like,
how many vehicles were typically would you guys roll out with though?
So we'd have, I think it was 5 RGs, 4 or 5 RGs, I believe. We had a Buffalo, that was the one like that has like the big arm with a fork that comes off or whatever, and that's what they would actually use to dig in to the and like pull out the IDs or whatever you think is buried in there or whatever. And then they also had God, I can't remember what the hell the name of the vehicle was called or whatever. Like, I want to say Cougar, but it definitely wasn't a Cougar. Those were a big like troop carrier one or whatever, but it was just a one man, basically looked like a
Bobcat.
No, it looked like almost like a Cobra helicopter on wheels, or whatever. Yeah, so it was like basically like they had like these radar metal detecting panels on.
Are you
there.
talking like a TH telehandler?
No,
did it have a big ass boom arm?
No, it didn't have a big ass boom on it. They would put like they used like ground penetrating radar, or they would have like metal detector panels underneath it or whatever, and it was basically just trying to see what was under the road. But I mean, like, these things never fucking worked. Like, the GPR was like the biggest waste of money that the government ever spent money on, because it was like Afghanistan was covered in this like moon dust, and this GPR could not penetrate or make sense of this moon dust. I mean, it was like it was the craziest shit. And like, if you haven't seen it, it's hard to like comprehend. I mean, this stuff was so fine that it would act like a liquid.
Yeah.
So like, you step in and you could just like feel that suction kind of like around your,
like cornstarch.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But it's like the whole ground is covered in it. It's just nuts. And like, so we'd have one of those vehicles, and like, ideally they would be, your lead vehicle or whatever. But the fact that they didn't have any weapon systems on them, it was like, well, they're already a sacrificial lamb that you're looking to get blown up or whatever. But now it's like, we're going to stick them out there with 0 defensive weapons or whatever, or offensive capabilities.
Right.
So that's why we always just threw one of our RGs up there in the front. And
typically, what sorts of bombs were you guys finding?
They were mostly like HME, so just a homemade explosive. They actually call it anal, so ammonium nitrate with aluminum powder.
Yeah.
Which is your basic tannerite. So that was like the biggest thing that we would find. We actually did find some like older, like Soviet era, like artillery rounds.
5.5s.
Yeah, like 155. We found, we actually found one that was, it was unmarked. This little kid actually pointed it out to us.
No shit.
Yeah, so the little guy was just like, kind of like, yo, like, over there, and so like, we checked it out and we see it, and we're just like, well, it's got to be just a high explosive round, all right, cool, throw a block of C4 on it, because that's what, when we found them, we would just basically move them off of the road if we could, throw a block of C4 on, and then just blow it in place. So we'd call it BIP, and so we'd just blow everything up. So we'd put the block of C4 on there and like pull the detonator, and it would just look like a firework. So like, just bright white, just streamers going everywhere, and we're just like, oh fuck, it was white phosphorus.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Old Willie Pete.
Oh yeah. And on either side of the road were just cornfields of pot. Like, and it torched a lot of it. It was I think it was just acres.
Get a good contact high that day.
Pretty much.
Especially because you're in country, so your tolerance is just shit.
God, yeah,
you guys must have been laughing up a storm the whole way back to the fucking.
Well, it kind of sucked because we had to like sit there and wait, and like civil affairs had to like come out and like kind of like deal with the shit or whatever.
No shit.
Yeah,
those guys.
Yeah. Another time though, they were clearing this new route, and we were using these they're called like Mikliks. It's like a mine clearing line charge or whatever.
Pretty much a trailer that fucking deals death.
It has a rocket on it with a cable that is
It's
pulling out.
It's attached to a bunch of C4.
Yeah, and they launch it out and it pulls that cable and it lays down on the ground.
Like 300 yards or something?
Yeah.
It fucking lays out?
Yeah, and I think it's like
mine MICLIC, mine clearing
line charge.
Yeah.
Line charge. Yep. And yeah, they're awesome. I mean, definitely YouTube that shit because
one of the coolest things I've ever got to see.
Yeah.
During my short Marine career.
So we're clearing this like new little road or whatever that was really close to our base or whatever, and I was like, all right, cool, let's go out there, let's do. Probably didn't need the MICLICs or whatever, but I think some of the higher ups were just like, we got them, let's use them.
If you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah, and so we were working with like an active duty unit. I think they were 101st or whatever, but they're like pulling out this like MICLIC, and they would launch them, and then we'd go clear, and then they would pull up, launch the next one, then we'd go clear. But we see this guy and he pulls up and the trailer is like kind of on a slant or whatever. So it's like kind of like when they pull that rocket boom up, it was like, you know, a good like 10, 15 degrees off of, you know, 90.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, he's going to shank this left. he's shanking this right into the pot field. And like, but he's like, no, dude, there's no way they're going to do it. And sure as shit, launches it and just pulls like, and it was a good 120 feet of C4 laying down in this pod field, and the nose cone or like the rocket that pulls it out there is still burning as it hits the ground. So like it starts a fire out there. These guys panic. They just pull the detonator, and it was just raining pot for like 15 minutes. It blew all that weed up into the sky.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, my gunner's like jumping up out of the turret, like trying to grab it. I'm like trying to smack him, trying to like knock that shit off. Like it's like, oh my God. Yeah, so we definitely had a lot more fun over there than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, like, so that's kind of like, it sucks for me because I got hurt way too early in my career and never got deployed. But from the stories I've heard, there were a lot of like good moments.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, you know, you get those moments stateside too, but like when you're deployed and you're in a foreign country with some of your best friends,
right? And there's like nothing to do. Mm-hmm. So it's like just like deadly boredom, you know. And so it's like you just make up all this fun shit to do or whatever to keep yourself entertained.
We kind of talked about that when we were talking about the Midwest, where it's like this sucks, but at least it sucks for all of us. And we're all in it together.
Yeah.
So, how often would you guys find bombs?
I mean, it would go, you know, like some days or whatever, we'd find multiples on a mission or whatever, and sometimes you'd go like a week and a half without seeing them, and it was just sort of, where's, you know, Johnny Q Taliban at, and you know, like what's he been up to or whatever. And so that was like definitely the hardest part about being there, was like you never knew who the bad guy was. Yeah. You know, because like, I mean, these people were, it was super rural where we were at. We weren't like in Kandahar City. We were like way outside of that. And so these people were just trying to scratch out a land on a harsh landscape, you know. And it was, they're all out there in their fields, like just trying to plow it or use a hoe to, you know, like plow a whole damn field. And then
it's honestly amazing the difference between a modern city and what they go through. And it's like, wait, this is still 2019,
right?
Or you know, it's still 2010, 2011. Like,
well, one of the times that we actually had a passenger in our vehicle was when like our battalion chaplain had come out or whatever, and like his chaplain's assistant or whatever like wanted to roll out on a mission with us.
Biggest waste of fucking a military occupation ever, by the way.
The chaplain or the assistant?
Both.
Yes.
They shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
There's no. I mean, I'm not a religious person, so.
Oh, me neither. But they wouldn't let me put atheist on my dog tags.
Yeah. But they'll let you put Jedi.
Exactly. I'm like, that is a crock of shit, man. Like, yeah, but he's like riding in the back of the truck or whatever, and all of a sudden, like, we like pull off. You know, we're going past this like compound, and they were all like mud huts. You know, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, are these ruins or whatever?" And it's like, nah, man, they probably built this like a year
this
ago.
This is fucking Kandahar cribs, man.
Yeah, dude,
like,
this
is luxury living.
Yeah, it's like, no, these are not ancient ruins. This is somebody actively living here, and they probably just built it recently.
Yeah, and this is
like,
their most expensive possession.
Right. It was just crazy.
Yeah, no electricity, no running water.
Yeah, and like all, well, I shouldn't say all, but like the majority of the IEDs that we would find, like we had a huge mine roller set on the front of our truck that was for like any pressure plates or anything like that. So once we had those on the trucks, then it was like, all right, they're gonna go to like, you know, like a command net or whatever, where they've got a wire running out there, and they'll just put it on a battery and blow it up.
Would you say most of the bombs you found were pressure plates, or?
No, they were all the command nets or whatever. Yeah, because like once they realized like, well, we're just blowing up their mine rollers, nothing's happening.
Yeah.
So then they have to.
It's amazing how like in a short period, if you, I mean, someone should really do a documentary on IED warfare,
right?
And how quickly it just developed, and then like, you know. It was a constant battle of trying to stay ahead of one another. And,
well, and they had like, you know, like the cell phone ones in Iraq or whatever.
But then we started using jammers.
Yeah, exactly. We got those Duke jammers or whatever, and like the rhinos and all that, like the infrared.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely like this huge game of like cat and mouse. But out in Afghanistan where we were at, I mean, it was like, I don't even know if you could get cell phone coverage out there.
Yeah,
I mean, it was.
They're not surfing in 4G.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. Yeah, I mean, it was just like stepping out of a time machine, you know, and back to feudal, I guess, Europe or something. You know, it's kind of like a. It felt like we were in like a serfdom or whatever. You know,
I've been in parts of the world where it was like that, where you're just like, I can't believe this is.
Yeah.
Like people live like this,
right?
And this is 2019 where. If I'm in, you know, Portland or San Francisco, I can call for an Uber on my phone.
Right.
I can order, you know, Uber Eats and get food delivered. But here it's like they don't have running water. They don't have electricity. They're, you know, using hand tools to farm.
Right.
It's like shit.
Well, and what was crazy too was like the vehicles over there, and how they're able to keep those things running. You know, it's like they don't have a parts store. So they're, you know, like fabricating something to fix whatever problem that they're having with a vehicle or whatever.
Yeah. Because I've been to Cuba. Yeah. And they'll, you know, use parts from other cars.
Right.
You know, put a Mercedes engine into a 55 Chevy.
Right.
Made it up to a Mitsubishi transmission.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Like even, because you're not going down to fucking AutoZone in Kabul to get, you know, serpentine belts and shit. Right. So
no, so I mean, it was like very impressive for like how primitive it looked or whatever, how like actually advanced they were in what they needed to be, you know, to like keep a vehicle like, you know, a 30-year-old car running without any parts or whatever. That takes a pretty smart person or whatever. They might not be
resourceful.
Yeah, exactly. They might not be literate or anything like that, but they're definitely.
Yeah, they're a clever people. Like I think that's another like really bad misconception is like the how like I don't know, I feel like a lot of Americans, especially civilians, especially like people that just don't know, it's like they feel like the enemy is just a bunch of retards.
Yeah,
and it's like
just a bunch of idiots running around.
They're not like these people have been fighting and defending their lands for centuries.
Oh yeah, millennia
against superpowers.
Right. The British Empire.
I feel like they're very resourceful and they know how to pick their battles.
Oh yeah. Well, and like what's crazy is like if they're not fighting a common enemy, you know, they'll be fighting the next, you know, village over the hill. So I mean like they're basically just honing
which is like
their craft.
I want to know what that conversation was like when we fucking tried to sell them the idea of democracy.
Oh God,
they were just like, "What the fuck are you guys?"
Well, especially where I was at, like Kabul might as well have been on the other side of the planet.
Yeah,
like there was no real concept of Afghanistan as a country because it's my valley. That's all that. Matters.
It's kind of the same problems that we have here. Like when you get out and start talking to like the rural communities, they're like, oh, the people in, you know, Chicago want to decide what happens here in Harvard.
Right.
Or, the people in Milwaukee, that's the cap. What? No.
Madison.
People in Madison want to decide on what's, going on up here in Oshkosh or Manitowoc.
Right.
So, and we get that, with Portland, because it's like Portland's a hugely liberal city.
Right.
But you get outside anywhere in the metro area, and it's pretty conservative as fuck. I mean,
Denver's about the same too. Where it's
exactly. There's a lot of libertarians that live out, just outside the Denver city limits.
Right.
It's like, yeah, man, and I feel like that's pretty much what Afghanistan is, but to an extreme scale.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting to see like that, how they live and all that stuff or whatever. I mean, it definitely took a lot from, and like one of the craziest things that I saw though was they had built like a new school or whatever, and I remember like there was a river kind of running past it or whatever, and like the one of the bridges going across was blown out. I don't know if it was by us or the Russians or when this bridge was blown up. I have no clue. But there's a group of kids that are walking to school, and they're basically jumping from rock to rock underneath this bridge just to get to school. And I was like, oh my, that is crazy. Like, I mean, I was like, holy shit, like, that's amazing that they, what these kids have to go through just to.
And we'd always complain if it was fucking raining at our bus stop.
Exactly. Like, I want to stay home from school today. And these little guys are like freaking, like literally hopping rocks across a river just to get to school. And I was like, holy crap, that's amazing. That's a kind of a beautiful thing,
Yeah. We should move on from this.
Yeah.
Because we could be talking about this for hours.
Yeah.
Just so I guess briefly just describe the day of your accident.
Yeah, so we were clearing a new route. They'd built it to connect two of these like little patrol bases out there or whatever. And when they built this road, they did it right before the rainy season. We called it, originally it was like a rat trail, basically just wide enough for foot travel or like the locals' motorcycles, like the little dirt bikes or whatever. When they turned it into a road, they just took bulldozers and just flattened it and widened it. So we were the first ones to clear this after the rainy season. So there was like 2 months where you couldn't get our trucks down this road, otherwise we'd just sink in. And
so that gave him enough time to.
Yeah, and we come up to this part of the road where there's a ditch running across the road or whatever, and so we were like, looking for a culvert, because that's a main place where they would throw explosives. They could just pack it underneath. They don't have to dig anything. Perfect. And, it's like, I can't see one on my side of the truck. Driver can't see it. Gunner can't see it from the top. It's like, there's no culvert. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's, move on then. So we start going forward. And what we didn't know is there was a culvert that was buried underneath it. And they just basically, when they built the road, they just plowed over both ends of it.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny Taliban knew it was there. Spent that last 2 months just packing it full of explosives. From the post blast, they had estimated that it was like, if not 1,000, just under 1,000 pounds of explosive that was underneath there, and it blew a hole all the way across the road. Took the truck, threw it into the air, like separated the engine and the mine rollers or whatever went flying forward. And the crew compartment where we were in flipped up backwards and landed on the driver's side. And so, it took this, I don't know how heavy that truck was, but it was heavy and sent it floating through the air like a toy.
There's no way you could have survived that in any other vehicle.
Oh, yeah, no. No, I mean, and what's crazy, though, is like I was the worst injured out of that truck. Yeah. Like, I mean, by rights, it should have killed all three of us. I mean, that hit was that big. And like, I got pictures of the aftermath of it or whatever, and there's
you've shared those with me.
And there's one of my buddies afterwards or whatever, they were like kind of going through all the wreckage or whatever, pulling all the stuff out, and I think he was probably like 6'1", and he's standing down in this ditch, and there's still a foot of earth above
the crater.
And I mean, it was just massive. And
I mean, where were you sitting?
So I was the truck commander or whatever, so I was sitting in the front passenger seat. So I was riding shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my driver was sitting next to me, and then the gunner was behind us in the turret. And what was crazy is that my gunner, he had busted up his ankle.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm surprised.
And that was it.
Because that's usually like in a Humvee, those
Yeah.
are usually those guys are
Well, and like
those guys are done.
Yeah, so they actually like figured out like we had a gunner's restraint system. Mm-hmm. So basically, it was like just a harness, like an OSHA harness that you would put on for work or whatever that goes over your shoulders, around you, and then there was like a seatbelt that came out through the gunner's platform that would retract and like basically give you enough movement, but it was like a seatbelt, so as soon as it felt a jerk, it would lock. And so that's the only thing that kept him inside the truck. I mean, all three of us got crazy concussions. Like, last thing I remember was being pulled out of the truck, and then it was like my brain just shut off for I don't even know how many hours afterwards. I don't remember the helicopter ride.
Do you remember the moment of the blast?
No, not the moment of the blast. I remember like coming to afterwards or whatever, and it was just kind of like, like I didn't even have my eyes open yet, but I was just remember like rolling my tongue in my mouth, and I could feel like all my fillings had cracked out, and I cracked a bunch of teeth.
Jesus.
So you feel that in your mouth, and if you've ever broken a tooth, it's like the worst feeling, and then it sticks with you. And I was like, fuck, my mom is gonna be pissed. Like shit, I broke my teeth again. Damn it. And then it was just kind of like, I opened up my eyes, and I had basically was in like a standing position, like standing on my driver, because the truck was on the driver's side. And so I'm like standing up looking through the windshield, which was, in the windshield and the horizon just weren't lining up. Not to mention I'm 90 degrees off where I should be looking through the windshield. And it was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, what? Yeah. And then it was just as, it's coming back. I was just like, oh shit, dude, we got hit hard. And then it was just like, oh my God. And like Chris, my driver, I was like, you okay, man? You okay? And like, he was kind of like moaning or whatever. And he's like, dude, you're standing on me. I was like, shit, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, is that better or whatever? And he's like, you didn't even fucking move. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, you didn't even move. I'm like, well, hit my legs, and he's like, hitting my legs, and I can't feel it. And I was like, well, fuck, I'm paralyzed. Like that was it.
You kind of knew.
Yeah, right away. It was just like, shit, I'm paralyzed or whatever. So like, I kind of like pulled myself up, just had like shoved my legs off him or whatever, kind of like, was worried then about like the gunner or whatever. And, not to mention trying to get word somehow to the guys who were behind us in the convoy.
Right, all the other vehicles.
Yeah, because that's the last thing you want.
Because I figured your radio was
toast,
fucking 100 yards away or something.
Yeah. And like that's the last thing that you'd want is for them to like come running up to try and help you, and all of a sudden a secondary blast goes off.
And that was a pretty common tactic.
Right.
Pretty much in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Just wait for the help to come, and then let them rip again when they're not in their trucks, and then you can actually get more casualties out of it. Luckily, that didn't happen. It was just a one and done sort of thing, and then they threw us on a helicopter. I didn't even get to remember that helicopter ride. I got 2 helicopter rides because I went to a smaller base just where they kind of like had sort of like a triage sort of unit, and then like to the Kandahar airfield where they had like the big hospital. Yeah.
And then from there, like, do you remember Kandahar? Were you awake in Kandahar? Or?
Yeah, I came to. That's where I kind of like my memory finally kicked back in. Was when I was there, and like the, like the doctors and the nurses or whatever, they were like, you're paralyzed, but we don't know if it's just like swelling in the spinal cord, like
because they don't exactly have X-ray machines out there.
Well, I think they had like X-rays, but they didn't have like like CAT scan, or MRI or whatever. Yeah, it was definitely a field hospital, so they weren't rocking the greatest stuff.
And based from just that experience, how accurate would you say the television show MASH is?
I didn't see any drinking going on. There wasn't your Hawkeye running around who's really witty. No clingers and dresses, so yeah, I was disappointed.
Fuck.
I feel like we missed out.
Damn it.
I know. Like I would have loved to go to their tent for a martini. Like I mean, I always wanted to hang out with them. No radar.
Yeah. And then so from Kandahar, I'm assuming Germany.
Yeah. So then they threw me on I think it was like whatever the big C7, C17, whatever the hell huge jet was, and they put me in like this like crazy like vacuum sort of like bag to like immobilize you or whatever. It was almost it was like a compression thing that like basically immobilized you down to the bed
I know
or whatever.
What you're talking about.
Crazy as shit.
Yeah, it's like a pneumatic air-filled like bodysuit.
Yeah, it just basically like glues you to the bed so you can't move around at all, and it was an interesting ride. But I just remember like when I was in Kandahar in the hospital bed there or whatever, my gunner and my driver came in just to see me, you know, and like I remember my gunner was in a wheelchair and they were like pushing him in. I just lost it.
Oh yeah.
You know, I just fucking lost it because I thought he was worse off than me, and he had just got married before, and it was like sort of crazy because like when we were training to go over
this is with your reserve unit. Yeah. So these are guys that like, you know, are from your
community.
Community. Yeah.
Well, what's crazy is like my so we were training to go over, like we were at Fort McCoy, which is Army base in Wisconsin or whatever, and I had just transferred into the unit. Like I volunteered to go over with them, and so like my gunner Matt, me and him were like kind of bunking next to each other or whatever, and I see like one of his pictures or whatever, and I'm like, how the hell you know Amanda or whatever? And he's like, oh, that's my fiance. I'm like, no shit. Like I had a bunch of biology classes with her in college.
Yeah.
So like I knew his fiance at the time or whatever.
Right.
Before I didn't even know who he was, you know, and so it was like I had already known his wife now for years before I ever met him, and so like before we deployed, you know, she's like, well, just take care of him, all right, you know, and like just seeing him in that chair was just like, oh fuck.
Yeah. You know, that is one really cool thing. Like, and I was active duty, so we always give, you know, tampons. Yeah, I was gonna say it. We always give like the reservists a hard time, but I would say that might be one big advantage a reserve unit would have, is that like you're all guys from your community, so you,
right.
And I guess maybe on the opposite side of that, like it is also, it could be a bad thing because you guys are all, you know, white boys from Wisconsin, right. Where, you know, an active duty unit, you know, you're going to get guys from, you know, Louisiana.
We were actually fairly diverse though. I mean, we had,
yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's just like you guys are all from the same community.
Right. A geographical location.
Could be a strength and a weakness.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess I just never thought of that. Like that kind of bond.
Right. Well, and the other advantage though is like, you know, like we're all professionals in something else as well.
Yeah.
And so like we were much more well equipped to be self-sufficient than any active duty unit, because like we had, you know, guys who worked like, you know, like any blue collar job you could think of.
Yeah.
White collar jobs. You know, we had tech people. We had.
I guess that is another thing, is you guys aren't all just 18-year-olds who your first real job, you know, outside of high school has been military service, where you guys, you know, have worked in the actual civilian sector, and
have different skill sets that we bring to the table, as well as whatever our MOS happens to be.
Right.
Because we had guys who were, you know, like HVAC, plumbers or whatever. And like instead of putting in a work order for what the hell was the company name? Can't even remember anymore. And waiting for them to come for 2.5 weeks with no air conditioning, our guys would just go out there, fix it. Yeah. They get all pissed off because like, well, that's our job. That's all we get money or whatever. And it's like, whatever, fuck it. Still put in the work order. Say you did it. Who cares?
Right.
Like we're not going to sit here for 2 weeks without air conditioning while you're fucking lollygagging doing whatever the hell you're doing.
Yeah. No, that's I guess I never really thought of that.
Yeah.
So then from how long were you in Germany?
It's weird. I really don't know for sure, just because it was like they pumped me full of ketamine like on the flight, like going from Afghanistan to Germany, and a bunch of other drugs too. So I mean, it was like a really foggy mist. I actually thought I was dead the entire time I was in Germany. Like I thought I had died. I had like an out of body experience on the plane, you know, and basically it was like I was just watching myself in the the flight.
You were like hovering over yourself.
Yeah, and like the flight surgeon and the the flight team or whatever, they're like beating on me, trying to like revive me or whatever, you know. And I was just like, well, I'm dead, So the whole time I was in Germany, I thought I was dead. Anytime
Yeah.
the doctors and nurses would come in there, I'd be like, what the fuck? You're wasting your fucking time. Like, a little late to this party, and I finally, like, when I got like a moment of clarity, I was just like, don't ever give me that again. Like, that was the worst. I cannot believe people do that recreationally.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't, oh my God, it freaked me out so bad. So yeah, I have no idea. I think it was only a matter of days, just to make sure I was stabilized, because they had the better hospital equipment over there, and they were like, all right, yeah, no, we can send him back. And then went from Germany to Walter Reed, where they actually did the spinal surgery. Yeah. And it was kind of crazy because, like, the whole time, I was like, well, like, yeah, you can't feel your legs, you can't move or whatever, but it might just be swelling in the spinal cord. We'll see, like, after the surgery, maybe it'll go down, whatever. And, like, so I had, like, that little bit of hope, I guess you could say. But, like, after the surgery, like, finally I talked to the guy who did the spinal surgery, came in the room, just to check and see how everything was. And I was like, well, how'd it look? And he was like, yeah, you'll never walk again.
Yeah, he was straight up with you.
Yeah. He just told, and I mean, that would just, like, crush me. Yeah.
At which point during this whole process, did you get to, like, talk to your folks, or
they were there? They were at Walter Reed, like, when I got there
on your arrival.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was communications and
and I actually, like, I remember, like, they let me call my dad from the hospital in Kandahar.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, cool. And it was crazy because they were just in the process, like, starting to build a house or whatever on some land that they had up in, like, it's not like northern Wisconsin by any means or whatever, but it's in the middle of nowhere.
Dude, everything in Wisconsin is north.
Yeah, it's like basically you're just north. All the wildlings up there. And there was, like, zero cell phone reception or whatever. So my dad was up there, and I just remember I called, and I went to his voicemail. I was like, all right, like, I'll call back or whatever. And the second time I, like, called, and there was still voicemail. So I left him a message. I remember just being like, hey, Dad, like, how's it going? Just calling I got a little banged up today. Got a couple scratches, nothing too serious. Like, I'll just give you a call back, like, in a couple hours or whatever, see if you're home yet or whatever. And I remember, like, I've talked to him obviously since or whatever, and he was just like, I knew it was bad.
Yeah.
And I was just...
He knew you were trying to play it off.
Yeah. And, like, trying... I don't know.
Dads have that, like, that spidey sense where they're just, like, they can see right through your bullshit.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how clever you think you are. I feel like every father just knows when you're trying to bullshit him, and it's like, come on.
And he was like, I knew it was bad.
Yeah, and I don't even bother trying to fucking lie to my folks anymore.
And I don't know if I was trying to, like, like, save him from being worried, or if I was just trying to, like, convince myself.
Okay.
So I don't know, like, which was really the truer motivator for that or whatever. If I was just, like, kind of in denial, like, oh no, I'm just a little banged up. Be back 100% in a couple weeks. Like, don't worry.
One thing I will say about you is, because I met you pretty early in your crippled life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, I think I was only a year and a half old when I met you.
When were we?
Richmond.
That was 2012, right?
Yeah.
So I got that games. 2012.
So I was paralyzed end of April 2011, and so I did the.
So you were just barely over a year.
Yeah, it was like a year and, like,
13 months, maybe.
Yeah, it was like a year and 4 months or something, or a year and 3 months.
Yeah, because I feel like Richmond was early, like maybe.
Yeah, I think it was like June-ish.
But you, for how early you were, like, you were already independent. You kind of, I thought you had been injured. If you would have asked me, I would have guessed at least 5 years.
Right.
Like, I thought you were actually, because, I mean, for me, I think I was just under 4 years in my crippled life. And, I was just like, I really looked up to you, just because, like, your willingness to, like, travel. And, because, I mean, we were, like, in Vegas later that year.
Right.
And it was really cool to see you accept, the disability early on and move forward and start figuring out what was next.
And, like, the biggest thing too is, like, the way I kind of viewed it was, I should have died. You know, that's why I got the headstone on my arm or whatever, you know, and it's like,
Still to this day, one of my favorite, like, crippled related tattoos, or even just military related tattoos.
Right. And
yeah, I guess the guys that can't see it on camera, Dan's got his gravestone.
Right. With
on
the
his
date
arm.
that I got blown up. Yeah. And people are like, wow, that's pretty fucking morbid. And it is. But I mean, that's honestly where I should be. You know, like all three of us in that truck should be dead.
Yeah.
You know, and so like when I have those shitty mornings when you wake up, you know, and you're just like, fuck, this sucks or whatever, you know, it's like I see that tattoo and I'm like, it doesn't suck that bad.
Yeah.
like I'm lucky that I get to have this shitty situation I'm in, because the alternative is nothing, you know. And so like that's kind of how I've always looked at it, you know. And it's like, well, I can either, you know, like just wallow in self-pity over this or just make the most of it. Yeah.
What would you say in the first couple years? Like, what was your big motivator?
I think
because you hadn't discovered lacrosse at the time.
No. Biggest thing for me was like and what really helped me though is my rec therapist, like Tammy. I did my like rehab down in Tampa in Florida, and like she was awesome. Like she was amazing. Like, you know, like the rugby guys came in, did like a demo for us or whatever, and like brought some chairs. We got to hop in there. I think Lindstrom was even.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure Lindstrom was there or whatever. You know, I'm like, oh man, this is awesome, man. I can't wait to freaking get out of here and play this or whatever. And they're like, huh, you're not crippled enough, you know. And I was like, damn it. But she also like would just take me out like hand cycling, you know, and like go out and like do all these crazy things.
Yeah, I think I remember you were involved with hand cycling. Like you were doing like races and shit, right?
Nah, not like nothing like super competitive or anything like that. I would.
Yeah, no,
I did the race at like the Vets games a couple years or whatever.
To get you out and just
yeah. And before I left rehab and was like getting ready to go home, like she came into my room and was like, "Hey Dan, you're going skiing out in Colorado in December." I was like, "What?" And she's like, basically had filled out this paperwork for a ski camp up in Breckenridge.
And this is early 12?
No, this was 2011 still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like this was, I was just getting home. Like I got down to Tampa from DC the weekend before Memorial Day, and I was heading back to Wisconsin the weekend before Labor Day.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about Winter Sports Clinic.
No. This was the ski spec. They do it up in Breckenridge, which I highly recommend to anyone who's interested in trying skiing. Like it's an amazing program.
Is that just open for veterans or
no? Anyone. It's Disabled Sports USA puts it on.
Okay.
So it's the Hartford Ski Spectacular. So definitely, if you're interested in trying skiing, check it out. Yeah. So she came into my room and was just like, "Yo, you're going to this skiing thing." I'm like, "Oh, all right, cool." You know, and so like you sign in or whatever, and I'm like, all right. When I first went home from rehab, that was like the darkest time for me, because like I was going back to the hometown I grew up in, Toma. You know, it's 8,000 people
during the shittiest part of the year.
Yeah, you know, and it's just like I had grown up in this little town. I rode my bike all over. I know every single street. I know every sidewalk that doesn't have curb cuts. I know every store that has a step going into it. And so it was just kind of like, even before I got on the plane to go home, it was like I already knew everywhere I could and couldn't go. Not to mention every house there has like 3 steps going up into it. So it's like, you know, my dad, God bless him, like he built a ramp in the garage for me to get in and out of the house. But, you know, my bedroom was up on the 2nd floor. I'm not getting up there. So like we had to put my bed down in like the living room or whatever, you know. And so it was just like, it was tough. Like that was like super dark times for me. And like that's where, you know, like I was like dealing with all this like depression or whatever, and like but December came around, you know, and I was just like, I was in such a funk. I was just like, I don't even know if I'm gonna go, you know, just like I don't even, what's the point? Like I'm paralyzed, I can't ski, you know. And like if it wasn't for the fact that my sister was living out here at the time or whatever, and she was like, well, she was already planning on like going up to Breck with me, staying with me, you know, like hanging out or whatever. And I was like, fuck, all right, I can't just bail on this, you know, like I gotta go see my sister or whatever.
And this was your first time traveling on an airplane?
Since flying home.
Yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. So
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. You flew home from Tampa.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just assumed you did your initial rehab in Milwaukee.
well, they didn't really have a rehab center back then. I mean, like this is before their new spinal cord injury center was built
Yeah.
or whatever. And so that wasn't even an option. I had the option of going to Richmond, Virginia, Tampa, Florida, Minneapolis, or Palo Alto, out in California.
Oh yeah.
And my older sister, she actually lived down in Sarasota, so I was like, well, I can be, close enough to have like family down there. And I had a cousin who was living like further down south in Florida.
I think out of those options, you made the right decision. Tampa,
Yeah.
I'd say Tampa's definitely in the top 3 for SCI units.
Oh yeah,
in
no,
the
it
VA
was
system.
it was amazing. And so Dr. White did his residency with Dr. Lee in Milwaukee or whatever, and so it was like those two were like super tight or whatever. And so it was like when I did the transition back to Wisconsin, where he was like, "Oh, you're gonna be with Dr. Lee," I did my residency there, and it was just like, "Dude, you're in great hands" or whatever. And so it was just like, all right, I never had like this like, oh crap, like the VA system is gonna be terrible or whatever. Like I always had like a great experience with like the VA.
Yeah. It's amazing how like Dr. Lee has had such an impact on almost all of our lives.
Right.
Like almost every veteran spinal cord injury.
Right.
Like we all, if you don't, you should definitely learn who Dr. Lee is.
Right.
Because the things that he's done for your community
Right.
has been just amazing,
One, it's like he is definitely like probably one of those people that will restore your faith in humanity.
The most selfless human being.
Right.
Like.
And what's crazy though is like he's also a veteran. He got hit by an IED in Iraq, and he took a lot of shrapnel, and so like
he never talks about it.
Right. But I think too he's had that struggle, like with
I think so.
coming home.
Yeah.
And even though like he might not be vocal about that, he still has experienced it firsthand, and is willing to help anyone else out through it or whatever. And what was crazy is like him and James, or another guy who was like the Milwaukee spinal cord injury unit or whatever, they just did like a intro to lacrosse camp or whatever out in Vegas, and like all of a sudden Dr. Lee came back and he's like, we're starting a lacrosse team. And I mean, he literally moved heaven and earth to start this lacrosse team. Like reached out to like Marquette University, had them, they donated a bunch of like equipment. Their coaches, their players would come and they would help us out with our practices, which we practice in like this, it's like the old ROTC gym on campus there or whatever. I called the thing the Crucible because it was hotter than hell. It was like these old boilers that I don't think they ever turned off. It was always like 110 degrees inside this gym, no matter what the temperature was outside. Like it'd be like 20 below outside and still freaking just on fire in this gym. But I mean, like he just went out of his way to like make this team.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's still involved with it. I mean, he drives from Wisconsin with their trailer, with all their gear, to wherever the national tournament is. And like just spends his vacation time doing this, and it's just like, I mean, just a truly altruistic person.
Yeah, it really, I think you nailed it on the head. Like if you need to like restore your faith in humanity, you gotta meet guys like Dr. Lee and strive to like be a guy like Dr. Lee,
Right.
So, how do we get on that? Where were we? We're talking about rehab.
Yeah, the rehab. Why I chose there. Oh yeah, no, it's so like the darkest times or whatever. It was just like that.
So then you finally made it out to Breck.
Yeah, and it's like so my sister picks me up from the airport, and we're like in her car driving up to Breckenridge, and like the whole time I'm just like, fuck, I'm not gonna be able to do this. This is gonna suck, And she was just like, who knows? She's like, if anything, you get to check out Breckenridge. It's like it's a cool town, like So I was like, all right, It's like, all right. I'd already basically made up my mind that I'm paralyzed. I can't ski, and like. So we're up there hanging out, whatever, like first day of skiing comes up, and it's just like, all right, let's go give this a try, And so like the two instructors that I'm like working with or whatever are sitting there like kind of like talking to me, like trying to talk me through this or whatever, but it's like kind of like one of those things where it's just like, I'm not hearing a word they're saying, It's just like, I'm already freaking out in my mind, like, how is this gonna go or whatever. And so they get me onto this like mono ski, and we get out, and they push me over to the lift, I get on the chairlift, and then it's like they're explaining like how to, get off the chairlift or whatever, like just basically shove your arms down into the seat as hard as you can and just fly off of this thing or whatever. And it's like, all right, well, this is gonna go well. And sure as shit, like I made it like 2 feet off the lift and just wipe out like right at the base. They gotta stop the chairs, and it's just like my worst nightmare, like just the one thing about skiing is like just don't crash on the lift.
Yeah.
Because then it stops the lift, everyone sees, and it's just like, oh my God.
Right. Yeah, you really have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, so like my worst nightmare comes true in that moment or whatever, and like my little sister, she was on the lift behind us coming up. And so by the time like, I got off to the side or whatever, I'm like kind of like trying to straighten myself out or whatever. Like she skis up behind me, I was like, pretty cool, huh? And I'm like, I was just like, are you fucking serious? Like, fuck you, like no, and then I realized I like look up and it's like you're looking down over like the town of Breckenridge.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy fuck, I'm on top of a mountain. You know what I mean? It was like, honestly, like that instant was when it was just like,
yeah, man,
shit clicked. And it was like, holy fuck, I'm paralyzed. I have no business being on top of a fucking mountain when there's snow all around me or whatever, and it was just like, it's like, holy shit, I can still ski. And like that was like,
were you much of a, like, did you ski before?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I like, and growing up, like skiing in Wisconsin was shit. You literally got hills, it's like maybe 700 vertical feet if you're lucky, and so like we did a couple trips out to like Montana or, Wyoming and did some skiing out there or whatever. But, yeah, so to be able to figure out that I could do that still, it was just like, and by the end of the week, it was like, of course, like my first two and a half days were just laying on my side on the hill, just figuring things out. But, by the end of it though, I was like skiing independently. Like they didn't even have the tethers on me, and it was just like awesome, and I got like all this like, like basically a head full of steam, and that's when I met you, 6 months later, out in Richmond. That's when I was like just full force already into like,
okay, so we met through Noah,
right?
And it was like, I mean, it was in the early years of Oscar Mike, and like, how did you meet Noah, and how did you get involved with Oscar Mike?
I'd heard of him like just when I first got back to Wisconsin, and like went down to the VA, just it's kind of like new patient intake sort of thing or whatever, like, all right, like, so this is who your primary care, blah blah blah, and like the she was a social worker, and she was like, oh my God, you got to meet this guy Noah, he lives just down in Northern Illinois, like he's the coolest guy ever, blah blah blah, I was like, all right, cool, and I never had the chance to meet him. God, I can't even remember. Like, I think Richmond might have been the first time I actually met Noah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember if there was,
because you guys were all on like the Wisconsin, like the PVA team together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that I did like any like other camps that he was at. Like because the rec therapy in Milwaukee was pretty awesome too. They would have like, like come down and do like a different bike ride, or they go kayaking, or they do water skiing in the summertime or whatever. They do skiing in the winter, and so they had a lot of programs or whatever to like, and like I was just got off that high of the skiing trip out in Colorado, so anytime they called me up, I'm like, hey, we're doing an adaptive
like fishing
bocce ball or whatever, it's like, sweet, I'm in, cool, like sign me up, like I was just, and I still am, I'm willing to try anything, like
that, well, that's what I really loved about your attitude, was like you were just so, I don't know if gung-ho is the right word, but I can't think of a better one right now. It's like, but you were just all for just, all right, charge forward. And like, let's.
Well, it's kind of like, I got to try everything all over again or whatever, because like nothing's the same anymore.
Right, yeah.
And I honestly thought like, hey, maybe I can actually be good at basketball now that I'm not short. But then I realized like, no, these dudes are still freaking like, monsters in chairs,
I'm still white.
I'm like, damn it. I was like, I don't have to worry about not being able to jump. No one can. And then these guys are like flying up on one wheel to grab like a rebound or something. I'm like, God damn it.
I suck at this sport. Even in a chair.
I quit. Yeah, it was just a wild time. And I'm still the same way though. I mean, I'll try any sport out.
Yeah.
Just because you never know like what's gonna be, like actual fun thing to do. Like I remember like I did the summer sports camp down in San Diego, and it was like, oh, we're gonna go like sailing today, and it was like, sailing, that sounds just fucking boring. Like sailboat, like that. I just had like Tommy Boy like in my head, like thinking that's what it's gonna be like. But it was awesome. It was a badass experience. You know? And I was just like, all right,
dude. Like being in a chair has just introduced me to so many things. One of them, I've talked about this so many times, so we won't get really too deep into it. But like scuba diving, me growing up, like thinking, dude, I didn't even know it was going to be an option for me, because it was one of those sports I thought I knew nothing about it. My parents, they're from landlocked Laos. There's no fucking scuba there. Right. Like I thought it was just a sport that fucking rich white people do. Right. And it was not in the deck for me, Yeah. And now I'm like balls deep with scuba.
Right. So I mean, it's like you get that hook on something. It's like you never know what activity is going to do that to you or whatever. Yeah. Like my newest one or whatever is like curling. Mm-hmm. And like I'd curled a couple times in college before I was injured, and it was just one of my buddies. He was a member at the Eau Claire Curling Club or whatever, and so like we would just go up there and go curl with him or whatever, and it was like put a buck in a mayonnaise jar in the fridge or whatever. They have beers, so it's just honor system, $1 one beer, and so just get hammered drunk and go curling, and it was fun. So I was like, had an opportunity to do a camp out here at the curling club, and I was just like,
was that your first introduction to
wheelchair curling? Mm-hmm. Like I really had no idea it was a thing. Okay. And so it was like Sam, she worked with like Wausau or like the Wisconsin Adaptive Sports Association or whatever. Yeah. She just shot me like a text out of the blue one day or whatever. It was like, hey, you want to do a curling camp? There's one out in Denver by you or whatever. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'll check it out. And like, send me the paperwork or whatever. And so I signed up, did the camp, and they invited me to come back and do like they had like just a strictly wheelchair bonspiel, which is like their big tournaments or whatever, like where everyone shows up and plays, and it was all just wheelchair athletes or whatever, and they invited me back for that or whatever, and I was like, all right, yeah, no, sweet, I'll do that. And like, I guess I impressed a couple people there or whatever, because they put me on like the developmental program for like the national team. So
got you on the radar.
Yeah, so now I'm like traveling around doing like the high performance camps. Next one is I fly out tomorrow to Charlotte or whatever, and be out there through Sunday or whatever doing a lot of curling. So
is that kind of like the hub for curling? Like where would you say is like the headquarters for? Or do you guys bounce around?
It used to be like Blaine, I think, was like the big like national training center, Blaine, Minnesota, for curling. We just had a camp up there.
Why do I know where that is?
It's just north of the cities.
Yeah.
It's like maybe 10, 15 miles north of the cities or whatever, Yeah, and so like right now with like the wheelchair curling, they don't really have like a centralized location. Mm-hmm. And so like these camps are like kind of like spread out, which is kind of cool, because then you get to experience like
that's awesome.
Different sheets of ice, like different ice houses, all that stuff.
Is that what you call a curling gym? An ice house?
Gym?
Ice house.
A gym? There's no gym. There's a bar inside. That's the only bar there is. Yeah, no, I would say the ice house or whatever. I don't know. I'm not 100% on the curling lingo yet. I'm still learning the language. Yeah. Not fluent.
You'll get there, dude. I think I think this is gonna be like right up your alley. I really look forward to seeing how far you take this.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to see how far it goes.
If it's in the cards, man, it'd be great to fucking see on TV and watch it. Or fuck, dude, I'll tell you right now, if you make the Paralympics and you go, I will fucking be there.
All right.
Decked out in fucking red, white, and blue cheering you on.
You better, man. I'm gonna hold you to that.
That'd be so
I'm gonna buy you a suit.
Yeah. Yeah, a nice little Uncle Sam suit or something.
Yeah, basically. Get your little white cottony beard.
What is it about curling that you enjoy?
I mean, it's just like, it's a super easy concept for a sport. It's just put your rock closer to the center of the house than the other team's rock.
Yeah.
So it's easy. That's it. That's the whole concept. But how you get your rock closer, there's a million different ways. So it's like it's like chess with 42-pound stones.
There's a lot of strategy and like thinking, like, I mean, I've never played, but I am a very avid shuffleboard player.
Right.
And it's like shuffleboard on a grand scale.
Right.
On ice.
Exactly. And what makes it tougher for us is we don't have sweepers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, able-bodied curlers or whatever, they can, if they throw a stone light, your sweepers can put another 5-6 feet on that just by, warming that ice up there or whatever. They can also keep the rock on line if they don't want it to actually curl and go over it. If they sweep hard, it's going to keep going straight.
Yeah.
But for us, I mean, it's all the feel.
Right.
And so, like, you got to...
It's a lot more like shuffleboard. Where, once it leaves your hands, like, that's it.
Exactly. You're just watching. And, so it's tough. And it's a team sport, but it's also like that individual sport where, like, if you're missing your shots, like, your team is going to be just dragging, So it's like all that weight of every shot is on your shoulders, but you perform as the team or whatever. And so it's great. So it's a little bit of both. It's kind of like golf where you got that individual aspect of it. You're the only one who's making the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just up to you. But then you still have like the entire team dynamic, which makes it even more fun because then you're sharing the experience. And
now, are there like competitions like throughout the United States?
Oh yeah. Just had the Bonspiel in Denver. That was in like July, or end of June. I don't know. It was June or July. But then they had one out in Massachusetts on the Cape. That was end of July.
How does that work out? Like, do you have a team here in Denver, or do you go as like an individual? Or
so one of the ladies who's on the national team, the actual like A squad, she lives out here in Denver. I actually threw with her on a mini league this summer, and it was kind of cool because we actually had like 4 wheelchairs all thrown together, which it doesn't happen all that often. Most of the time I'll just throw with like an able-bodied team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing on Wednesday nights, legally starting up here in a couple weeks, or Wednesday afternoon, sorry. And I'll be throwing with just a able-bodied team.
Okay.
So I'll have sweepers for them or whatever, and I'll probably have to play like vice skip for them or whatever. But it's just, like get out there, throw some rocks.
You guys ever up in the Northwest?
No, after Charlotte, we go to Wausau, and then I think they're trying to have one down in like Phoenix.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
You'll have to let me know maybe if I'm in Illinois during the one in Wausau, like.
All right. Yeah, dude.
Shouldn't be too far.
Yeah, no, it's that's a shitty drive, but
yeah,
it's going across the Graceland. It's not no Denver to Portland, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, I would love to just check it out.
Oh yeah,
trying to broaden my horizons with like adaptive sports and just to see, because I can't fucking sell rugby and scuba diving to everybody.
Right, exactly. The cool thing about curling is that like you can try and get to that national level, but you can have just as much fun, if not more, just throwing on a local league night where it's like afterwards it's like the unwritten rule of curling is the winning team buys the losing team their drink. So like even if you lose, you're still getting a free drink out of it. So I mean it's kind of win-win.
It's a lose win.
Exactly. So it's like, and then you go inside to where the bar is or where you're having your beers or whatever, and you just shoot the shit, and just like and it's also like a super like positive sport, like where you're not like your opponents.
I feel like it's really hard to be an asshole.
Exactly. Like, you're not trying to like root against your opponent. Yeah. Like if you see your opponent make a great shot, it's like, oh my god, dude, that was awesome.
It's like bravo, dude.
That was amazing. And so I mean, it's just it's cool in like that aspect. There's not a lot of sports that are like that. Like
is there shit talking?
It's if you know the team you're playing or whatever, you can have more like
little just banter.
Playful banter.
Yeah.
You could definitely do that or whatever.
But you're not like when you're like doing a shot, you're not gonna be like, oh, don't fuck this one up.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, definitely not. That's it's not in the spirit of curling.
It's more of a gentleman's game.
Yes, exactly. But the cool thing about like the wheelchair curling is that it's actually a mixed sport.
Yeah.
So you have to have one of each gender on the
You
ice.
have to.
You have to.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you have a sub or whatever. So like at the Paralympic level, they'll have like 5 curlers on each team.
Mm-hmm.
One's an alternate or whatever. So like if you are playing with, you know, like 3 males and 1 woman on the ice, and your sub has to be either a woman, and you got to keep 1 woman on the ice at all times.
Quality.
Yeah. Canadian team, they got, they're 2 women, 2 men.
Yeah. Are they like who's the alpha dog right now?
China.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would have fucking thought?
No, it's crazy. And you watch, like, if you go on YouTube and watch them, like, they are loud. It's like they're like yelling at imaginary sweepers every time they throw a rock. I mean, it's like as soon as it leaves that stick, they're just like shouting, and it's like,
Yeah.
And most of the time, it's like wheelchair curling's pretty quiet. You know, like, I mean, it's like,
I would have never. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, these guys like get into it, and so it's kind of like takes, I think, a lot of teams out of their element, you know, because they're used to just sort of like that laid back sort of like atmosphere, and then all of a sudden you got like, even if you're not playing against them, they're still throwing on the same sheets of ice as you, so
And
you're
just
like
being loud.
yeah, and it's just like, holy
oh,
shit, what's
man.
going on? At that Blaine camp that I was just at, they had the deaf Olympic team was there, like curlers or whatever, like so they were deaf curlers, and it was the craziest thing to watch because like,
oh, because they have to like
they're signing, they're signing everything, and like, I mean, like they're like waving on their side, like trying to like tell them, to signal them to like sweep harder, sweep slower, and like but that whole conversation, like they're just,
I'm a
you
little
know, like,
slow, so it took me a couple of seconds for that to click. Like, what's the difference between a deaf curler? I was like, okay.
no, they're just using sign language for everything. And I was like, wow, this is the only, like, I guess I can't really say able-bodied team or whatever, but they're the quietest like curling team I've ever had the privilege of throwing with.
Dude.
And it was like easy to focus, you know. It's like, man, I want to practice with these guys all the time because it's, you know, like if usually whenever we're, you know, like, and when I'm curling out here at the club in Denver or whatever, it's like the able-bodied guys they're always yelling at their sweepers or like, you know, like, I mean, it's a noisy sport.
I think you had already gone home. This was when we were in Vegas.
Yeah.
But I had stayed like an extra week to go look at apartments and shit.
Right.
And I ended up going out to Fremont Street with Hez.
All right.
And I remember it was super crowded for Fremont, and I just like, you know, was trying to get through the crowd. I'm like, hey, excuse me. Like, people wouldn't move.
Right.
So I would end up like kind of like shoving people. Like, excuse me, you know. And I finally figured it out, and they had there was a deaf convention.
Oh shit.
So everybody was fucking deaf. And I'm just being a dick.
Get the fuck out of the way.
Dude, what was really cool was like we were in this one bar kind of smoking a cigar out on the balcony, and there were people signing from across the bar, like ordering drinks.
Right.
And like talking to, they were up on the balcony talking to their friends down the street level. And I was like, damn, I didn't even think about like their communication isn't just limited on how loud they can speak. It's
right.
Like how far they can see. I was just like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. I think it would almost be an advantage for, you know, in almost any sport if you could just, you know, it's kind of like baseball has their own like lingo with like their hand signs or whatever, you know, but like, you know, have that option to communicate just, you know, like throwing symbols up. And like,
it would not work for quad rugby.
No, God, no. You guys would all be signing.
We're the worst signers.
You guys would be screwed if you were deaf. Like,
fuck.
What would they do? Yeah, damn.
You'd have to like to just carry a slate on your arm.
Yeah.
And just write.
Or hawking it, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, that would. It's had to have happened before.
I did know, I don't know if he was a quad, but he had some sort of paralysis, but he was also blind.
Oh shit.
And that was,
fuck.
Yeah. We he had a full-time caregiver and stuff, but what was funny, because I met him, we were working out at this gym together.
Right.
But he'd always go outside to wait for his caregiver. And it was like trying to give him directions to push through the doors. It's like, a little left.
Yeah.
Not too much. Come back.
Right.
Like, yeah, he was a great kid. He ended up dying, unfortunately, at a pretty young age because of his disability. I forget exactly what it was, but he was a cool little dude.
Yeah, that's just crazy, man. That just complicates things like way further than what we're.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like how I've always looked at it. Is like it could always be worse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that's always been kind of like my way of coping with it. And like, I guess I'm lucky that I've had a lot of experience with injury, like growing up. Like,
yeah.
I've always been told like if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. Because like I busted my tibia fibia in my right leg, like radius and ulna in my right arm.
Really?
Oh yeah, collarbone.
I don't
twice.
ever. I mean, I dislocated my left wrist.
Yeah.
That was really the only broken bone I had before the 3 in my neck.
Well, and the IED was the third time I broke my back.
Yeah.
So the first time I was like, what?
You were already damaged goods.
Oh God, yeah. You know, and like that's like one of the reasons why I was like, well, you know, it's just like the other 2 times. Like I'll be fine. I'll bounce right back or whatever, you know, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And well, third time stuck. So, but I've had like a lot of practice with dealing with injury and recovery and stuff like that or whatever. So I think I was definitely starting the game a little ahead of most other people, like where if that's their first like serious sort of injury or whatever, you know, like you don't have the
like
skills.
like I said, like usually I feel like guys in years. I mean, you look at like Noah. You know, it took him I don't know how many years before he got up on his mountain.
Right.
You know, and that's when it clicked for him.
Right.
And I mean, even for me, dude, it took me 4 months before I got with the rugby team.
Yeah.
And it was just because it was like, what the fuck am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
And Netflix also just released their streaming service, so I was like, well, this is kind of cool.
Right. Let's see what they got.
Yeah. It's a great time to be fucking paralyzed right now. I feel like, because as far as like the equipment that we have, the access to technology, the fucking smartphones. I mean, because I mean, with my quad hands, I remember trying to do
T9 text.
Well, yeah, I would pushing down on the buttons.
Yeah.
And, now it's like with the smartphones, you know, you got swipe and freaking touch screens, and it's just like everything's just so much
talk to text, all that shit.
Yeah, talk to text for sure. That's I always try to keep at least one crippled friend that's worse off than me around, just so I can feel better about myself.
Just reminded. Yeah. Well, dude, and I always remember like just.
That's why you were. I mean, most of your friends were quads.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and
that's why you did it, you fucker.
Oh yeah, dude, it's a huge esteem booster. You know.
You need to pick that up. You just wanted to feel useful. You're like,
exactly.
Hey, do you need me to open that bottle for you?
Yeah, Jesus.
You need me to pick up that girl.
This guy's like seriously disabled. No, but when I was in rehab or whatever, I was just like, you know, like I'm T4, so it's like nipple line or whatever, you know, and like God, man, if only I had abs, you know, like if only I had abs. And then like that first time at the games or whatever, and I'm hanging out with like you and Noah and a bunch of the other like rugby players or whatever, and I'm like, dude, I'm a fucking shitty person for complaining about not having abs when you guys are like struggling without like the dexterity in your hands or whatever, you know. And it was just like, wow, I got it pretty fucking good.
It makes things fun, dude.
Yeah.
To like not have your hands. Don't get me wrong, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But one example, and this is kind of the attitude I wish more people would adopt, is just to fucking learn how to just laugh at yourself.
Right.
So last night, you know, I started my morning at 6 a.m. I mean, even earlier than that, but I left Boise at 6 a.m. And I had my eyes set on Culver's because I was like, I'm going to get Culver's because we don't have it out west.
Right.
You know? And I was like, Fort Collins. Finally made it to Fort Collins at like 7 or so, something like that. And I ordered a frozen custard and a butter burger. And
there you go. Better brand of beef makes the butter burger better.
The lady's handing me my drink, and she hands me the spoon and the straw and the malt at the same, or the custard at the same time.
Yeah.
And I go to put it into my center console, and I drop the spoon.
Oh Jesus.
Into the fucking
canyon.
Yeah, the canyon or the black hole, you know, in between the center console and the driver's seat. And I could see it, and I was just like, oh fuck, like this is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And I had already parked and everything, so I can either do the whole transfer process, get out and just go get another spoon, or it's like I could try to reach down here and try to figure out how I'm gonna fucking finger this one out. And Yeah, after about like 5 minutes of just getting frustrated and just fucking laughing at
Yeah.
myself because I'm just like looking at my custard
Melting.
like, and it's melting.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just want to fucking eat.
Yeah, at least it's not a McFlurry, so it doesn't separate when it thaws. You know? Why don't you just go through the drive-thru?
I could have, but it became like almost a point of pride.
True.
But then I figured out, I was like, I just backed my seat up.
Yeah.
And I had way more room.
Right.
And I probably could have gotten it out within like, 10 seconds.
I'm a very firm believer in that necessity fuels innovation.
Yeah.
Like where like I remember the first time like I fell out of my chair and I was like, all right, kind of went over this in like all my PT that I did in rehab. How is this really gonna work? And so it was like I had to sit there and figure out like, all right,
yeah,
the ways that they were telling me in the gym or whatever, how it worked, like when I was there, like it was the perfect situation. I had things around that I could, it was just like, all right, we got to figure this out one way or the other. I got to get back in this chair, or like when you have stuff break, that's another one.
Yeah.
Or like I've had like,
I don't know if it's like guys like us or like military guys or just, guys like us, like blue collar guys like us, like we've become like really good problem solvers.
right.
Where, I mean, like last night we had to like figure out how to unload my truck on a one-way street.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'll just park over here and we'll unload the bags from one side.
Right.
Back it up and park on the other side of the street and we'll unload the bags. And I've already thought about today because I got to leave and go to Colorado Springs. But I think I'll just pull the truck around back. We'll just load everything up in the alley.
Yeah. I'll just chuck all the bags right in the back of your truck for you or whatever.
Yeah. I think that would work. That I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, yeah, that'd be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. And I think too, it's like, for a lot of our problems or whatever, giving up isn't the option.
Yeah.
And so like we
Well,
have that.
it is an option, but
true.
It's like,
I would say it's not a viable one though.
no.
Like, I mean, like if you're in a predicament, and it's like, one time we were hiking and I was with,
It shouldn't be your first option.
yeah, I was with Lisa, and a couple of our friends, Seth and Erica, and we were doing this hike up, outside like Evergreen. And I was jumping down like a water break that just, like goes across. It was just like basically a railroad tie, like a step going down. So I was just, just wheelie over this. Like I've done 1,000 times of 1,000 curbs. I didn't realize like the ground was like slanted where I was landing. And like once my chair hit, it kind of like bounced and started moving like laterally.
Yeah.
And so the left tire just crushed, like ripped half the spokes out of one side of it and just, and it's like I'm laying on the ground. I was like, fuck. Grab my keys. I throw them to Lisa. I was just like, well, guess you're headed back to Denver to grab one of my spare wheels or whatever. And she was like, no, I'm not going to leave you here. I was like, what? I just grab my cushions, sit on that or whatever. I'll just hopefully not get eaten by a mountain lion. But like, it was like, all right, well, let's figure this out, and it was like my buddy Seth was like, basically was holding up that back left corner of the chair, and I was holding on to the rim. I figured out like if I kept the good spokes on top, it could still hold. So basically, I just had to hold that wheel and keep it from spinning.
Yeah.
While I'm like leaning over to the right side, and I had my freewheel, so it was kind of like the freewheel sticks way out in front, so it was like a tricycle or whatever.
Almost like triangulated.
Yeah, and so like what we were able to do is like pick up on that left wheel and sort of like push. And granted, like there's like fucking rocks and all. It's Mother Nature, so it's definitely not accessible. And so it's just like, and we're probably 7/8 of a mile from the trailhead. And it was like,
That's
fuck.
not terrible.
It wasn't.
Could have been a lot worse.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
I'm just imagining 7/8 of just rough terrain. I mean,
oh yeah, it wasn't too crazy. I've definitely done crazier trails than that or whatever, but it was still a fucking haul.
Might have been faster to crawl.
Yeah, probably. I would have lost my pants though.
Just wheelbarrow it.
Yeah.
Human wheelbarrow.
There you go. That'd be good.
That's
probably lose my teeth. My luck, dude, I'd fucking dust them. Just gone. I don't want that again.
Yeah. Mom wouldn't be happy.
No, dude. I just got this grill fixed. Like, Jesus. Oh, man.
Have you been getting out like on the trails since you've been here?
Yeah, and we go with like our neighbors are great. Get along with them like awesome. We'll go do some hikes with them.
Do you have a grit chair now, or
No, I just throw the freewheel on
Yeah.
and just give her hell. And there's a lot of places where it'll be like, like I'll have to have like Lisa or somebody like give me a push or whatever going up,
Yeah.
or more often than not, it's like there's a very technical part of the trail where it's like big boulders that I'm trying to like get around or stuff like that or whatever, where it's like, well, I don't want to bust another wheel.
Yeah. There's a company here that, and you and I have talked about the mountain trike before.
Yeah.
There's a company here that will let you demo them, and I think they even might rent them out for the day.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I would definitely do it. I mean, the grit chair is great, and it's for the price point, it's great. Like, but it does have some limitations, and I'm not saying the mountain trike doesn't. Like, they're both different machines that are going to have pros and cons that are just they're designed for different things, and one's a little bit more expensive, and
I just like that grit one, like just the simplicity of it.
Yeah, and that's one advantage that grit has, is like if something goes wrong on it, you can usually fix it with
minimal tool.
One trip to
Home
Depot.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, because like I've realized, if it's gonna break, or if it can break, it's gonna break.
Yeah.
No matter what, and it's never at an opportune time. I've had like my cushion pop, and it's always around that valve stem. I was out in New York one time and I realized that you could use Carmex. Take a big glob of Carmex, and wherever that hole, because it's normally on that valve stem where you inflate the cushion or whatever. You take a big old glob of Carmex and put it right over that valve stem.
Yeah.
Fold it back in or whatever. It'll hold air for like a day.
Oh, I didn't know
So,
that.
it was like one of those kind of things.
Because
like,
Rojo, they the one that I like, I guess you have the same valve.
Yeah.
They switched this metal valve to a plastic valve, so I'm wondering how those are going to hold up.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Yeah,
that's where most of my problems with the Rojo are, from the valve. But
yeah, it always rips there, and it's like you can't patch it. Mm-hmm. I get like a patch kit with every new cushion that I get, and it's like I can't get a patch on there.
Yeah.
There's no way to keep it to hold air. I found that shoe goo actually works really well.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that I use now to like.
Yeah, I should. What I need to do, like, especially because I like traveling overseas, is I need to get like a little fix, like just a little like travel kit, like of like an extra tube, patch kit,
tire spoons or tire levers or whatever.
Yeah, just like an emergency save a trip kit, where it's like if this goes wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the last dive trip I was on, one of the girls had a problem with her D's lock, and like her cable snapped.
Yeah.
And she was screwed.
Shit,
and I was like,
yeah.
Shit, I didn't even think about that. Like I'm so bad. I don't even carry like hex. I mean, you should at least have a hex kit.
Yeah.
I don't even fucking carry that.
I got standard and millimeters
See,
in my backpack at all times.
I feel like I just need to get like a small little, like a hygiene bag.
Right.
That I can just keep all that shit in, I think.
Yeah, I've got like tubes like stashed like in my car. I got them like in my bedroom, like just stashed everywhere that I would ever be.
That's a business idea.
What a GIMP survival kit?
Yeah, just design a little small. I mean, it doesn't. If we can get something like the size of this case right here, like just a small.
Yeah. That's all you need: inner tube
and just have like basic tools.
Yeah. Yeah, we could.
Well, we gotta get to market now.
Now we have to put it. Say it's an accessible system or whatever, like say it's for accessibility, and then we could charge $800.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure they already make those things for bikes.
Yeah, but that's not.
We'll put a wheelchair symbol on it.
You put a wheelchair symbol on it and mark it up.
Oh yeah, tons.
Eight times.
Yeah. Get
the insurance company to pay for it.
Perfect.
Then we're fucking good.
Oh, dude, we're golden. American dream. That's the American dream.
Gotta love it, man.
Yeah, we'll screw over the consumer.
Trump's America.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We're like 2 hours and 20 minutes into this thing.
God damn.
Yeah, it flies by. But there was one more thing that I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
While I got you here. You've I don't want to use the word celebrity, but you've you've gone viral.
Yes.
Kind of in a sense. You got involved with testing out exoskeletons.
Yeah. So I was actually picked by SoldierStrong. It's a nonprofit organization or whatever. And here's another feather for Dr. Lee's cap. Basically, he called me when I was living in Madison out of the blue one day, and he was like, "Yo, Dan, there's this organization's donating one of those exoskeleton suits. I'd like to put your name in for it." And I was like, "Oh, awesome." And like he literally like put together everything. It was like, "What do you need me to do?" And he was like, "Well, just write up a little like a blurb about yourself, like put some pictures in there or whatever." And like he did the rest of it, and I was kind of like, well, this would be kind of cool, get like a robotic exoskeleton. That'd be sweet.
Yeah,
kind of like, it was
who wouldn't
like,
want that?
It was like, I felt like I was buying a Powerball ticket though, and it was just like, that'd be awesome, but never gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then like, I think it was like 6 weeks later, he called me up and he was like, "Dan, you got picked. Like you're getting the suit, but like, you got to go out to New York to get it." And I was like, "Dr. Lee, I'll go to fucking Mars to get this thing. Like, that's not a problem. Like, I can do that." And it was crazy. Like, but one of it was crazy, like in a great way. But it was also sort of like disappointing. Just because like, I had like all these like ideas of what like the suit was going to do, and it was just like,
did you think you were going to be like a mechanized fucking...
Yeah, no, I thought, I thought it was, I'd be like, oh, I can just throw that on to go to the store.
Yeah.
Or whatever, like I can actually, grab something from the top shelf again, and like, so like I guess my ideas of what the device and what the technology was different than the reality of what it was.
You were expecting RoboCop and you were...
Yeah, and like, which... Yeah, that would be awesome. I was thinking more Iron Man.
We'll get there one day.
Iron Man. I was thinking he's more fluid, can fly.
You want shit.
I want the rocket back. Yeah, and so it was just like crazy to all of a sudden like, oh, I can walk again. But it's like I can only walk on like very nice smooth surfaces. Can't go outside with the thing. Can't, do a lot of stuff. But I've done some like crazy things with it. Like one time it was, I think the video you were talking about was like when I was at the Eagles game.
I've seen a couple. You were, because you've done, you go around to different sporting events.
Yeah.
I think the first one was the Eagles.
Yeah.
There was a race. Did you do like Talladega or like Indy?
Yeah, the Indy 500.
Yeah.
So that's been an awesome like one or whatever. So with SoldierStrong, like one of their big corporate sponsors is United Rentals. United Rentals, they're like a key sponsor for like Graham Rahal's like IndyCar team, and so like we've gone out to like a ton of races, and it's like amazing because it's, if you haven't been to like Indianapolis for the 500, like it's, you can't comprehend how fast those cars are going and just how big that place is
and how loud they are.
Oh yeah. And it is awesome. And like we've gotten, the first race I went to was like Sonoma a few years ago, and I mean it was just amazing. They were just like the whole team, like they're like, "Hey, come down to the garage, check out the car." Like I'm talking to like everybody in the crew. Like and like the team owners and everything like that, and like so like Graham's dad, Bobby Rahal or whatever, he was like a champion driver. I think he won the 500 like back in like '86, and he's one of the owners. David Letterman's another one. Mike Lanigan, who's richer than the other two, who you don't really know about, but they're all like the nicest people in the world. And so you just get to like hang out with these guys, and like talking like David Letterman's kind of intimidating to say the least or whatever, because the guy's always on.
I honestly, I don't even think he's a real person.
Right.
Because I've only ever seen him on TV.
Right.
And it's like, if I ever saw him in real life, I'd be like,
well, now he's got a huge beard.
Yeah.
And so like we've bonded over that, and like this last when we were at the 500 this year.
Did he compliment yours?
We compliment each other all the time on it. But he was, I guess,
I can't relate.
He has his new Netflix show, and they were talking about like one of the ways to like promote it. I guess they were gonna have him sort of do like a commercial with like I think it was like with the guys like from like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy or whatever, because that's on Netflix now. where they were gonna like style his beard for him.
Oh, yeah.
So his like assistant Mary was like, she was like, "Damn, would you let somebody like trim your beard or whatever?" And I'm like, "Is it my barber?" She was like, No, but it's like a professional. And I'm like, if it's not my barber, they're not touching this. Like I've got one guy, Joe, at the barbershop down the street.
This is all I have
that I trust, and like and he's super good too, because he like barely take a little bit off, hand me the mirror, and be like, "Is that good?" And like, let's go in a little bit further or whatever. But I've gone into like some barbershops and just gotten like scalp, and it's like they take a huge chunk out, and you're just like, "Oh my god." Like, oh my god, it feels like they cut off your leg or something.
I guess I know zero things about beards, because you have more fucking hair in your beard than probably 8 generations of Vixays combined.
You got that lovely flow of the mullet going, so
it's right now we're kind of like the inverse of each other's
basically
hair.
The yin to the yang.
Exactly. That's why we get along.
Maybe we should make this a regular thing called the Yin Yang Podcast.
The yin yang. I like it. We can do it, dude. Because
we can't be the twins. Cause,
we just we cranked out like 2 hours like it was nothing. But the exosuit that you have is, I mean, this is all still first gen stuff,
right?
Where do you think we're going? Like, what do you think? What do you think is next? Like for the second gen?
I would say more like stability built into the device. Like almost like where it's like the device will maintain its balance, or whatever, like almost like a Segway or whatever.
Yeah.
Where these ones don't. Like the one I have, I use the crutches or whatever. To maintain my balance, and then like in order to get it to make a step, I have to get my body into the right orientation in space, like my center of gravity. Like if I want to take a right step, I have to be my center of gravity over my left foot and then slightly forward, and then the device will like take that step. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, this technology is amazing. I mean, it's definitely science fiction. It's just the limitations of it are, like I say, it's more of like a piece of exercise equipment.
I've seen you walking in it.
Yeah.
And it's I've criticized it before just because, I mean, where I'm coming from, I'm always looking at numbers, and it's like, this $100,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Like, how many rugby chairs is that? And like, it's,
well, and that's like why, like, the organization that I'm with now, like, this was the only suit that they donated to an individual, because like me, they didn't have a very good understanding of what the technology was. Yeah. Now they're actually donating them to the VA hospitals with spinal cord injury units.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen.
In that way, it's like, because these devices are honestly made for gait training for like incomplete spinal cord injuries.
Yeah.
To where you can like they can dial up, like how much each motor is putting in. So like you're still, putting forth whatever energy or
like it's filling in the gaps of where you're
right. And it's for like stroke patients where, it's like you're affected on one side of the body. So you can still get up and like practice walking and try to re-strengthen and stuff like that. Like for me being completely paralyzed, it's more for like the health benefits of walking, like the range of motion, bone density,
getting up right,
circulation. So it's really just like a piece of exercise equipment, and that's kind of how I view it now. I always like to tell people that it's like the your first cell phone, like the little Nokia brick that was indestructible. Or these ones aren't indestructible, but all it could do was call. I mean, you really couldn't even text with the things. And then they came out like T9 texting, and it was like super slow. Yeah. And like, so like that's basically the Motorola Zach Morris phone.
It's the brick. Yeah. Yeah. You still got to pull the antenna out. And
exactly. And so like I'm super excited and like optimistic for the future, just knowing that that's the technology that we have today. Yeah. And I'm really excited to see what the iPhone version of that technology is going to be.
That's when they start doing like Neuralink, and it's like you're going to get like transplants into the spine, and it's going to be, you're going to be able to wear it like under a suit, under some just jeans. You won't even know you have it on. It's like, Yeah, no, I just like it's kind of, and I think what's going to happen is there's going to be like a division in the paralysis community where
People
there's
who
going to
take
be
it.
there's going to be walkers and there's going to be wheelers, and it's
Yeah.
going to be like, hey, why do you feel like you have to walk? Like, you think
right.
you're
Like,
better than me?
what's wrong with your chair?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, what's wrong with you? And it's going to be like, well, I struggle with that because it took me a while, but I finally have accepted my disability, and
Right.
it's like I've been able to accomplish way more things in a wheelchair than I ever did, in my walk in life. But then it goes back to that theoretical, like if there was a magic pill that I could take,
Right,
and I would wake up, not paralyzed, like would I do it? Hell yeah, I would.
Right.
But I've met people that have said that, no, I wouldn't.
Right.
And it's like,
what always kind of like worries me too is like, so it wasn't just like I didn't just like break my back. I broke like my pelvis. There was a ton of other shit
Right.
that got fucked up when I got blown up or whatever. If they were able to like
1,000
repair my
pounds
spinal
usually
cord,
does that.
if they were able to like balance or like restore my spinal cord, and I all of a sudden like I have like full sensation and stuff like that. What if I'm in extreme pain?
Yeah, like all the time.
Yeah, like my they never did anything for the pelvis. They just let it like fuse together.
Yeah.
They didn't put any hardware on it because it's like a very
So who
risky
knows?
spot.
Like, yeah, who knows what you're.
Yeah, so what if I'm
your
in like
legs gonna be-
excruciating pain? I'm just begging them to cut my spinal cord again, or like. And I also think it would be like you have to re-go through that life-altering change again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, I think like this would maybe be like the easier one, but it's not. They're not just going to fix your spinal cord and you're going to stand up and walk.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to spend years.
Yeah,
Like training and like
your
getting
legs
strong again. And
I
like,
mean, think about like your ACL, MCL, and
oh yeah,
like all that's weak as fuck right
oh yeah,
now.
everything. I mean, and not to mention like the tightness in your joints or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, it's just like it's
How often are you getting in your?
not as often as we should. Probably should be doing it like 5 times a week or whatever. But it's we're not close to that. So
Yeah, well, it's also like you need an attendant.
yeah.
Like,
So Lisa
it's
Lisa
not
was trained to be able to walk with me or whatever
Mm-hmm.
too, and like yeah. And so it's just it's tough. She's a school teacher, so she's out the door at
long hours.
yeah, out the door at 6:45 in the morning, and gets home at like 5:30, and usually it's like, all right, let's eat some dinner and just wind down or whatever. And so we got to make time for it. I mean, I'm just making excuses, and that's
Yeah. Are you still going around doing promotional for the exosuits and
Yeah.
SoldierStrong? And
yeah. And so I'll usually do quite a few events. It always seems like we're out on the East Coast though. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we've donated some suits like down Phoenix, I believe was the last one. The last one that I was at where they did the donation. A lot of times what they'll do is, and what's cool is they'll use one of the patients from the hospital that they're donating it to demonstrate the device. And I think that's
cool.
more powerful than having me come down there and do it.
Yeah.
Because then you're, like the person's probably stood up and walked in the device. Just they'll do like they're not going to just throw them out there and be like, here, you're going to stand up and now you're going to take a step. They'll do work with them before they're like out in front of anybody, like trying to do that. But it's still like to see that or whatever and having experienced that, like, I mean, that's a powerful moment.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, I mean, like I said, like in the beginning, like I was pretty critical about them.
Yeah.
But I had to realize that, like, okay, the technology right now is just, it's in the primitive stages. Like, this is phase one of what's capable. But then I just was thinking, well, Iron Man's a comic book movie, but
Right.
like that could certainly be in the future. Like, like we could definitely have those exosuits that just, you
Mold
wear
around you
you
and-
wear under it your clothes, and you just, who the fuck knows, man.
Yeah.
We're capable of creating some pretty fucking cool things. And
well, what's kind of crazy is that suit that I have or whatever is it's basically from DARPA.
Yeah.
Like the defense research.
Yeah, because wasn't it designed for
super soldiers
for like carrying, heavier loads and shit.
And so like these guys, they're Ekso Bionics. They're based out of like the Bay Area, out in like the San Fran area. It's kind of like north of Berkeley or whatever. Can't remember what the actual name of the town that they're based in or whatever. But it's crazy. You go into their factory and it's this old Ford plant that they were using like in World War II to, create fighters and stuff like that, or like airplane and stuff. So it's a really cool spot. But then all of a sudden they got like all these different exoskeleton robots, like just in these like rigs where they're testing them. And so they're like kind of like walking, they'll sit, stand, they'll like walk or whatever. And so it's like Skynet, and it's like, this is
Robot
where
Army boot camp.
This is where they're taking over. Like, I mean, but they have like all the, like the models of it where it was like, I think they call it like the Hulk or whatever, was like the human utility load carrier.
I remember seeing a show on like future weapons about that shit. And I was just like, what the?
So like the head engineer of the company or whatever, his brother was a Navy SEAL, and he fucking got a spinal cord injury. Like, I think, like windsurfing or doing something crazy like that or whatever. Like not like,
not
line of duty or whatever, not combat related or whatever, but like, no, he was on a battle windsurfer board or whatever, missiles. No, so he got a spinal cord injury, and like he was like, oh shit, like I can use this technology to like help my brother walk again or whatever.
Yeah.
But his brother was like, fuck you, I'm gonna walk out of this place like on my own or whatever, and he did. I mean, Navy SEAL's gonna do it, but it was just kind of crazy to hear like how
the connection,
how they spun off and made it into like a medical device.
Well, the military, like the defensive budget always kind of gets looked at, maybe sometimes as like a bad thing because of the ridiculous amounts of money that we spend on our defense.
Right.
But there are a lot of good things that comes from like military research and development.
Right.
I mean, a lot of our technology that we use for, like internet servers and
right, GPS,
right,
like all that stuff,
plastic and microwaves, and it's like we I don't know, it is what it is.
Yeah, costs a lot, but some good comes out of it.
Yeah, and like everybody benefits from it, but it's just kind of, I don't know. I still think we spend way too much on it, but that's a fucking different topic for
more than what, like the next 20 on the list combined.
How much we spent? Yeah. It's not even close. It's but at the same time, it's we've taken that role of like world police.
Yeah,
and it's someone's got to do it, and it's kind of shitty. But like, wouldn't you rather be the alpha?
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely. Versus like, would you want China, spending, 3 trillion more than us,
right?
Knowing that, okay, now with and like, I mean, you've seen firsthand like how quickly like the war on IEDs progressed and like how fast that is, and it's like, I mean, the weapons that we have today are gonna be muskets and like muzzle loaders compared to what we're gonna have in 100 years.
I know. Well, I mean, just even before that, it was like bows and arrows and swords and sticks and rocks and
right,
just like the progression of weapons, like it's been exponential in the last century.
I mean, even just look at like the modern rifle in the last 100 years, like what they were using in World War II or one, bolt action rifles,
right?
And now we're, everything is gas operated,
semi-automatic,
gas piston,
semi-automatic or full automatic, or dispenses death quicker and more efficiently.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, that's the that's humanity, though.
You think?
Yeah.
You think do you think there'll ever be like a period of peace?
I mean, technically, we're in like the most peaceful time
Technically,
in
right?
human history or whatever,
Yeah.
but no. I think as long as your neighbor has something more than you, there's going to be violence.
Yeah, I think that's I said this on a podcast a couple episodes ago, but it's like, in order for the first world to exist, there's going to have to be exploitations of the third world.
Right.
And it's really fucking shitty to say it.
Right.
But it's like, do you want your iPhone? Well, guess what you're going to have to get? We're going to need conflict minerals in Africa.
Right.
We're going to need kids
Child
in China
labor
to build them.
Oh.
And
Otherwise, you're going to spend $10,000 on a phone.
yeah, and even then, it's like, acquiring the materials, and then it's, I don't know. I'm always hopeful of like a solution and kind of that utopia.
Yeah.
But because like growing up, like that was we thought the future was going to be so fucking cool, and it was at one point it went from like a utopia kind of mindset to now everything's a dystopia.
Max.
Everything's a dystopia, and you got people that are fucking prepping for the end of the world,
Right.
and like people that are like, yeah, we should really have a purge, and like, oh, I can't wait till the next civil war.
I feel like those doomsday preppers are just way too big of fans of like those like post-apocalyptic shows, but they almost like fantasize too hard about it.
Here's
Here's
my theory is they have invested so much money, and they want something to happen just so they could be like, ha, I fucking told you.
Yeah, right. Everyone's banging on their door trying to get in. It's like, no,
I fucking told you. Who's fucking crazy now?
It's like Noah in the Ark, like
yeah,
that's the same.
That's what they should call it, is the fucking Noah's Ark syndrome.
Yeah,
because like you imagine if Noah built that ark and nothing ever happened.
Yeah,
and be like,
just crazy motherfucker.
Yeah.
Although it is kind of like he was a shitty dude for like not taking people with him.
I don't really, when I went to Catholic school for 3 years.
Right.
And I knew nothing about the Bible.
Oh, really?
Never fucking read it once. And when I first heard the story of Noah's Ark, and this was in 5th grade, I was like, people fucking actually believed that this happened?
Yeah.
And like I was just like, these are all great stories.
Right.
Like these are all, but
it's a fable.
Right, but don't for 1 second believe that all of men came from 2 people that were created by God. One of which was created from a rib of the first person, and it's like, they're all great stories, and there's symbolisms, and there's like morals and things you can get out of it, lessons you can learn out of it. But
I guess my thing is always like, if the only reason, because people are like, well, if God doesn't exist, then I would just go rape and kill and murder, and it's just like, well, then you're just a shitty person. Like, if the only reason that you're not doing that is because some imaginary sky person is keeping tabs on you and gonna send you to a good place or a bad place, then you're kind of an asshole,
right?
Like where you shouldn't need that.
And I don't like bash religion too much, because I've seen how good it can be for some people, and it definitely can help a lot of people like overcome certain things. Like, I mean, how many like Vietnam veterans are like deeply religious now? And you can't ever like criticize something that helps people.
But it's a double-edged sword, though. I mean, it hurts plenty of others,
Yeah. It's when I don't know. I think it might be like when you kind of get that idea of like, my religion is the only one.
Right. Yeah, my way is right. Your way is wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we're fucking fighting 2 wars.
Yeah.
I mean, we're on the eve of 9/11, and it's like,
no.
Say what you want, but we've pretty much have been engaged in a religious war.
Yeah, it's a modern day
since
crusade
2001.
almost.
Yeah, because I mean, you look at like the enemy's mindset, and it's not like they hate America and they like hate our freedoms, and they have this religious mindset of everyone that is not us is against us, and they're wrong. And then I mean, even Christians kind of we had our crusades and our conquistadors and our inquisitions, and it's I don't know. Do I feel like the world would be a better place without religion? Completely, yes. But I also feel that there is some good in this world because of religion.
Right.
So, and it's, I don't know.
You got to take the good with the bad.
I'm always just like, just fucking do you.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what everyone else is doing. But
yeah. And just be nice. Like, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. That when I did the Gambler, the off-road rally, that was rule number 1. Is just don't be a dick.
Right.
And it's become sort of like a running joke. So when they send out flyers and shit, everything's just like rule number 1: don't be a dick.
Right.
And it's like it's hilarious because it's so simple.
I feel like it should be the new golden rule.
It should be the First Amendment.
Yeah. It should be the first commandment.
Yeah.
Yeah. God was really would have
put
don't be a dick.
When you and I start our cult.
They're actually just up the road from us or whatever is the International Church of Cannabis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Haven't been.
What do you call followers of that?
Potheads.
So you can join the army and get that on your dog tag now?
I would certainly hope so. It's gonna be a quick career for you, but I mean.
Yeah, you're gonna pee into a cup and have some staff sergeant stare at your dick every Monday.
Oh yeah.
For
your
entire career.
Every time you come back into the building.
Right.
I just came back from lunch. Here's your cup.
All right, buddy. Here's your cup. Whip it out. I want to see the stream.
Yeah, I've seen how you guys pray.
Oh man. We should fucking end it on that one.
Oh yeah.
Dude, thanks for inviting me into your home. I'm glad
course,
I finally made it down here, and we're gonna have to hang out more.
Yeah, you got to come back out for Red Rocks, man.
Yeah, for sure. And vet games are in Portland next year. So, if you're not busy traveling the world and doing doing them curls,
yeah, man, for the girls.
Fucking best of luck to you with that, dude.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
I definitely want to get you back on the show.
Of course.
And we'll do some follow-ups.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, y'all. That is that'll do it for this one. We're out.